Hello everyone, welcome into our latest live broadcast. It's Sunday, the 2nd of November, 2025. My name is CareyHolzman, and today, a new laptop from our friends over at Nemo. I really appreciate that Nemo has such a large variety, all aggressively priced, and that's all I know about it. I have Mara, our channel administrator, arranging for things to be shipped and reviewed, and I try to look at them completely blind, to just see with no predefined ideas. Other than I know I like this manufacturer, I know they're easy to work on, and I know they're very aggressively priced and have a great extended return period, up to, I think it's 90 days return period if you buy from them, and great support. So we'll take a look today and see what the specs are on this. They're on their website, and see what the price is there as well as at Amazon, and then see if everything matches the description. Here's a spoiler alert, they usually match exactly. Sometimes reviews for me, they're a little bit redundant. I do feel like the manufacturers are giving you everything you need to know on the product page. We've never really caught a manufacturer lying about it, although manufacturers have made mistakes. I mean, AMD was promoting frequencies their CPUs couldn't hit, and so it's not limited to small manufacturers. And so other times testing is sort of a limited style of test that enhances the performance of a product versus, let's say, an unbiased test, right? So depending on the marketing company that manufacturers use could determine a little bit of variance in the reviews. But overall, more so than not, they're pretty much exactly what they say they are. We'll just basically verify that here in the review. I want to start by welcoming everybody into the chat room. It's an hour earlier for most of you. Daylight saving time was last night, early this morning, I suppose. And Arizona does not, well, Phoenix anyway. Phoenix does not abide by it. There's a little corner of Arizona where there's an Indian reservation, just a little trivia. And that Indian reservation is in Colorado and Utah, and I think, is it Nevada? New Mexico. I think it's New Mexico, Colorado, and Utah. That Indian reservation is primarily in other states, with a bit of it in Arizona. They are a part of Arizona, up around Holbrook, the top right corner of Arizona, where they do honor daylight saving time in Arizona. It's very strange. But overall, I'm still starting at 1 o'clock. This is my usual start time, but for you, it may be an hour earlier. And if you're wondering why, in an hour from now, you're just joining us, why we've been live for an hour, it's because you rewound your clock back. I didn't. Just to clarify that. And that's the way it'll be until you put your clock back the way it was 6 months from now. All right, most of you already know this, but just a heads up for those who don't. Thank you to Kenny Kosovo for renewing membership. Right on. Came back as a member. Welcome back. There's Ron Barnish saying hello. David Graham and Richard DeFries say hello here in the chat. And there's Mara there in the chat as well, our channel administrator, who's obviously done our thumbnail today. Having a little too much fun with these thumbnails. Eddie Casanova says hello. There's Jose Lopez and Gary Bickles joining us. And there is Peter Laycock, our friend Buster, who says hello to everyone in the chat, where it is 46 degrees Fahrenheit or 7.7 Celsius in Edinburgh, Scotland right now. And thank you to Buster for yesterday's Amazon gift card / super chat, and for today's Amazon gift card / super chat. Buster likes to give us the super chats in an Amazon gift card, knowing that we get it immediately and there's no fees taking out of it. So YouTube does both. YouTube will hold any super chat money for 30 to 60 days before they pass it on to us. And they take 30% of everything. So membership money, super chats. And so we appreciate any and all support. But if you want more of your support to go to us, the only platform we're aware of where there is a 0% is Amazon, and we're spending it all there anyway. But we certainly appreciate it, and that helps keep us independent. Companies like Nemo send us their laptops with no exchange of any compensation. In fact, we don't even keep these laptops. We send them back when we're done. So that's a great relationship to have with a company that's, you know, so confident of the product they're sending that they say, hey, we're not worried about your review because we have a good product here. So give it your worst, you know. And that says a lot, I think, about a company. You can't be too sure. Some of these folks, they charge for reviews, and at that point, it's no longer a review. I mean, I think if you took that to court, I think any jury would say that's a commercial. But there's no enforcement on it. So be wary of really positive or really negative reviews, because the opposite is also alive and well, where competitors are paying people to throw their competitors under the bus. And there's some unscrupulous content creators that'll take the money. They don't care. It doesn't matter to them. All that matters is how much you're going to pay me. And if it's enough money to make it worth their while, boy, it's getting to be a very uncertain world, to the point where the competitors will start using AI-generated content creators and be able to manipulate them in any way they want. And they won't even have to deal with real content creators, and many viewers won't even know the difference. So that's what we've got to look forward to. But as long as you're here, you'll know that we've been around before the AI, and we'll be around after the AI. So nothing changes here. Let's see. Andy W6AD says hello in our chat room. I also see ICT Manager, Doman 2000, Francisco Oma, and the Brian Weber joining us. It's the Brian Weber.
The Brian Weber.
And we've got email. I'll check that in just a minute. Thank you. Taffer 9876 says hello, and Mark Gaines joins us as well. And who else do we have in here? ICT Manger says hello in the chat room. Sean Skinner saying hello. Tony Aindal joins us, so we're along with Tel Cockrum and Paul Vercher. Hope everybody's having a great Sunday. Hope you all had a happy, safe Thanksgiving. Not Thanksgiving, Halloween. Boy, I'm already ready for Christmas and New Year's. Let's go. Bring on 2026. Hope everyone had a great Halloween. We have a neighbor that when the kids would come knocking on the door of the neighbor, she'd say, do you want a treat or would you like a potato? And the kids, more times than not, wanted the potato. Potato! They'd leave, you know, walking down the porch holding their potato proudly. Potato! So apparently, for the last couple of years, and this is news to me, it might be news to you, this has been a trend online that people like on TikTok and Instagram have been talking about. And it seems like I've never been aware of it. I didn't know this was a thing. It is funny, and I think that's why the kids are doing it, because it's funny. And and then listening to the reaction of the other trick-or-treaters, they're like, I got a potato. Where did you get the potato? That house over there has potatoes. Come on, let's all go to that house and get a potato. I was like, damn, I wish I would have known that. It's a lot cheaper than Halloween candy. Heavier, but cheaper. So there you go. Let me check the email real quick, and then we'll take a look at what we're reviewing today. Mark Liebowitz said, I'd totally take the potato. My daughter loves French fries. Well, who doesn't love French fries? Potatoes are amazing. Our friend Mark Gaines with an Amazon gift card. Hope you enjoy this gift card. Hello, Carey and Mara. My contribution in lieu of Super Chat. Thank you, Mark. And Mark Gaines joins us from Northern Ireland. Buster, our friend Peter Laycock, is in Scotland. And yeah, we have a worldwide live audience right now. And our chat room is completely open to everybody. So as long as you're kind, come on in and join us. If you can't be nice, stay the hell out. All right. So I got my box cutter. I'm here ready to open this up. But before I do, let's take a look at what it is. Because honestly, I'm not so sure. I have a vague idea, but let me just verify. Let's go over to Nemo's website here and take a deeper look. This is a 15.6-inch laptop. It's called the N15A. It's a Ryzen 7 6850U Full HD laptop. It has multiple colors, black, blue, or rose gold. And if we click on each one, we can see the colors there. It's bundled with 16 gigs of ADATA RAM, so name brand RAM. You can bundle it with 32 gigs of RAM, which will adjust your price. Here it shows a price of $719.99 as recommended retail. They're selling it right now at $150 off at $569.99. You bump that up to 32 gigs, it's going to only raise your price $30. That's a pretty good deal if you ask me. So I agree with that recommendation for sure. Now you can have a 1 terabyte Kingston or / Western Digital drive, or a 2 terabyte, and then you can see how that adjusts the price as well. So you can customize these. So all together, if you got this whole thing loaded up with 32 gigs and 2 terabyte, you're still under $700. And it's got a 2-year warranty, and it's all US based, so you're not going to be sending it overseas for any repairs. A 90-day hassle-free return policy. The laptops are partially assembled in the US and undergo rigorous testing, ensuring top-tier quality and reliability. What else do they say? A new power AMD Ryzen 7 Pro 6850 processor, which is 8 cores, 16 threads, and turbos to 4.7 gig, and can handle demanding tasks with ease. Get the power of a desktop and a portable design, perfect for personal workloads, content creation, and even gaming. 100-watt USB-C fast charging. It's travel ready. It's included 100-watt power delivery, fast charger. It's a 6.5-foot USB cable. And in 15 minutes, you can provide up to 2 hours of use. 15 minutes of charge can provide 2 hours of use time on the battery. Let's see what else. Of course, they talk about the build quality, metal shell, not all plastic. RAM is DDR5, and the NVMe is Generation 4. Glad to see the manufacturers starting to include these details. A lot of times when that information is missing from their descriptions, that's a big red flag for me. There's a reason why a lot of other manufacturers won't tell you what generation the included drive is, or even if it's NVMe versus SATA. It's a big difference. Now, typically LPDDR5, that's low power. That typically means it's soldered onto the board. But up here, it doesn't specify. That's something we're going to have to look at. If it's ADATA RAM, it's not normally the manufacturer mentioned on soldered down memory. So I don't know if that's a typo. I mean, it's possible to have low power RAM that's socketable. It's not very common though. And that usually indicates the low power is because it isn't in a socket. However, again, it's not a requirement. You can add another year warranty for $40 onto this if you want a 3-year warranty, and that way you know you've got a working laptop for at least 3 years, right? That's guaranteed. They've got a 3-in-1 USB-C hub, and look at how inexpensive these accessories are. A lot of companies gouge you. They will nickel and dime you on accessories. Not Nemo. Nemo's pretty straightforward here. It's a reasonable price for a 3-in-1 USB hub. If you want another charger, 20 bucks. 20 bucks for a 65 watt to 100 watt charger. I mean, good luck finding one even at Walmart for that price, quite frankly. And then we've got more information about the laptop here. Now this is Wi-Fi 5. It is not 6, 6E, or 7. So we're a little behind here. And the Ryzen 7 6850U is not the latest processor. So you're going to save a lot of money if you're not buying the latest and greatest. It's always, you know, time is a very big enemy to technology that just, you know, continues to run as well as it did the day it was made, but maybe people look down their nose at it as not being the latest and therefore not good enough. Geez, I'm definitely not the latest human, but I hope I'm good enough. The operating system says Windows 11 Home. What's interesting is I do believe Nemo will give you a free upgrade to Pro if you ask for it. Sometimes it's even a DIY. If you go to the support Let's just check. This is, what model is this? The N15A. So we'll go to support, go to the help center. Under drivers and manuals, we'll look for the N15A if it's in here. Here it is. You notice that there's a download here for Pro, Windows Pro. So you don't even have to contact support if you want to play with Linux. They've already got a built-up install of Linux. And these are, I believe these are system images. So, or they're predefined installers where all the drivers and modifications for 100% compatibility, drivers are built in, etc. It's all done for you by the manufacturer. And you just grab it here. Just grab it right here and knock yourself out. If you only want the drivers, you can do that here. And if you just want the user manual, it's right here. So in most cases, you don't even have to call support for stuff like that. Now over at Amazon, just out of curiosity, how much is this selling for? It's a penny less for the 32 gig, 1 terabyte. And all the colors are basically the same price, within a penny. And they're going to talk about, you know, what kind of gaming does this do? You'll see it's a light gaming laptop. Well, the best advice I can give any of you is that when you watch anybody do a review or a benchmark of an AMD Ryzen 7 Pro 6850U, they're all going to benchmark identically. So we could sit there and we can benchmark 7 different computers from 7 different manufacturers. That could be a mini PC, it could be a laptop, doesn't even matter what it is. And we're going to get identical benchmark numbers on each game we play, and we could play every game on the market for the next 3 years just to see what our frames per second and performance looks like at certain resolutions and variations of versions of the game, other settings, etc. And what we will conclude when we invest all of that time is everything that's built with this CPU will perform to the level of this CPU regardless of who makes it. So I find a lot of those benchmarks personally useless. In fact, if you want to cut to the chase and just look up the graphics card or the APU, we've got the, well, technically the APU is the CPU and graphics card built in together. So the AMD Radeon 680M is the onboard GPU that's built into the CPU. And if you want to just Google what those performance numbers are to whatever game you like to play, it's already done for you. But because of the possibility of all the different video cards on the market, all the different video games on the market, to go through and test any sort of sample of video games is a complete waste of time, in my opinion, because the odds that you will, any of you, will be playing any of the games I demonstrate is profoundly low, unless it's a brand new AAA title game, which this is not really built to do. I mean, you could probably play them, but you'd have to set your settings really low. That's why it says light gaming. The AAA titles are your most expensive, latest releases, and you probably want to play those on the most expensive machines if you want the best possible performance. It's all just reasonable. With that being said, it does have a backlit keyboard and a fingerprint reader. And there's a little bit about the CPU, a little bit about the graphics. Of course, with that much RAM and that much storage, you're going to have no problems with multitasking and multiple things going on at the same time. And it's a very capable laptop. And the idea that you can buy such a powerful laptop for under $600 today it's pretty impressive if you ask me. Furthermore, we'll open it up just like we have with other Nemo laptops, and they're very easy to open and work on. Everything's user serviceable for the most part. But we'll verify it today during today's video. So let me jump back over to camera 1 and get back over into the chat room. Michael Lavelle says hello and joins us in our chat. Ahmad Shabir says it looks like the laptop's not available in Canada. You could always reach out. Nemo has wonderful support. And so I can't answer a lot of internal policy or distribution. They are more than happy to answer any questions you have. And their email address and contact information is there on the website. At least they can verify that it's not available if they're planning on making it available or that you're not looking in the right place and in fact you've misunderstood the information, or maybe they've overlooked some information. So it's always good to get clarity and verification. And that all starts by asking a question, and ask it to the manufacturer. Don't ask it to a third party. That would be my best advice. Make sure that the accuracy of the information is coming from the proper source. TechSmart Computer says hello and joins us, as does Christian. And Frank Jimmy saying hello in our chat room. The Brian Weber says, I got my Jet KVM delivered from iCool Core. I'm still waiting on mine. Did you have to pay any tariffs, or did it just arrive? That's the big question. How long is it going to take if we order one? And are there any surprise add-on charges from shipping from overseas here to the USA? I'm assuming you're in the USA. When I get the units I've ordered, we'll make a video on it. But I don't think they're going to even be here this week, but we'll see. Andy confirms he's got a Nemo laptop and their support is wonderful. How many companies can you even say that about anymore? Andy said this one may also have Wi-Fi 6. You know what? You're right. It may be a typo of Wi-Fi 5 being listed. We've seen that numerous times where, so when a manufacturer has a lot of product that's slightly different from other product variations, sometimes they copy and paste and don't go through all the details with a fine-tooth comb. So we'll verify that. And the Brian Weber says there were no tariffs. I just got it delivered. Yes, USA. Well, that's what we're hoping for. So I've been keeping track of, you know, when was my order date? When did it ship? Which, by the way, was the next day. And then it left China after like a week. And then it arrived in the USA within 3.5 hours, which I don't understand how you can travel that far in 3.5 hours. But then it appeared the plane had cleared customs. I'm just telling you what the tracking info says. And when I say the plane cleared customs, what I mean is they're not just going to unload a plane until the inspectors see what's on that plane and make sure it's nothing illegal or dangerous. So the plane cleared customs and was authorized to be unloaded. But then the items themselves will go through customs before being released, and to verify that there's items of certain values or tariffs apply, that they do that at the time. And then after that, it gets passed on to continue the shipping to its final destination. And so far, I'm somewhere in the point of my order, which I don't think I ordered it on the day it was available, but I ordered it on the first day I heard it was available. That may be why you got yours sooner, or it may be that you're on one of the coastlines closer to where the planes come in, so it doesn't have to travel so far from where the item arrived to the final destination. If they're flying into California and you live in New York, it'll have to travel by ground across the country, is my understanding. But yeah, we'll follow up with that. And I appreciate your update. It's good to know. Okay, so the Nemo, hold on a second. Where is my camera? One of the things I really like about Nemo is the minimalist packaging. There's not a whole lot of unnecessary items. In fact, there's no unnecessary items in this box. I'm so used to manufacturers, they'll throw in coupons and advertising in the box. Other manufacturers will throw in accessories I didn't want, and yet I'm paying for them, and I'm getting them whether I want them or not. Nemo is very minimalist. They're going to send you everything you need and nothing you don't. So let's open up the box and let's see what's inside. Hopefully it will align with what I just said. This box right here, this is going to have our power adapter and our USB cable for power. It is a USB-C power adapter, which means there's no proprietary power adapter. We don't have to worry about labeling it. And they put their logo on it, which I wish every manufacturer did, quite frankly. All that's left in here will be a couple pieces of styrofoam that protect the top and the bottom of the laptop in shipping. So if you end up getting some damage to the box, it likely won't be thicker than this on either side, or thicker than this, or this. So the laptop is really well protected, even against punctures. So what are you going to do? Sometimes these shippers, they can handle this stuff really, really rough. There's our documentation, and just the laptop should be all that's left. Nothing else in the box. We are totally empty in there. So as you can see, we're pretty bare bones on the accessories. In fact, speaking of something penetrating the box, there's a pretty significant hole, and this was on the box it shipped in. So this box was in another box, and that outer box had a hole in it about yay big. And whatever it was the shipping company used, they put a hole right through the outer box, right into the inner box. And we can even see a pretty significant indentation right here. See that? So that was likely just over that. Just over that hole. And here's the thing. When a laptop or any other manufacturer sends you a product, the shipping companies will say, this is normal and you need to protect your products from it, because if your products arrive damaged because we punched a hole in the box of a certain size or depth, we're not going to honor any insurance on it. That's your fault for not packing it to our recommended recommended specs. I don't know if anybody's ever filed an insurance claim with a shipping company before, but if you have, you're probably still working on it. Insurance companies like to find every excuse possible to not compensate you. It's faster and cheaper for the manufacturer to just run their packaging through testing on the shipper, which many shippers not only allow it, they encourage a shipping test to see, in a worst case delivery scenario, they really rough up the box and then give the box back and say, here you go, open it and good luck. Make any according changes, and if you want to retest, let us know. Inside the laptop, if we open this bad boy up, we're going to have a little bit of a cloth here. And this protects the screen from hitting the keyboard. So that way you're not going to get any marks on your screen during shipping. It's not really meant to be left in there, but I've seen people that like to keep that. You certainly can. You should keep everything, the box, the styrofoam, everything you get, just in case you need to return it or you just want to return it. They have a 90-day return policy, but they want everything back. It wasn't like, hey, you can keep some of the stuff. No, you can't keep any of the stuff. So I strongly recommend you hold on to everything until you're 100% certain you're happy with the product, everything's fine, and you won't be returning it. Because if you do want to return it, you need to pack it back up just the way it was, because it's not going to do them any good if you just throw a stamp on this and send it back. Of course, we got our documentation here, which I'm going to set aside. And then in this box, we should have two things, a USB-C power cable and a USB-C charger. Let's see. Now, I've noticed we've seen the white chargers and the white power cables. We've got a black laptop that has a black USB-C power cable. And do we have a black or a white charger? The devil's in the details. Sometimes on these discount products, companies just throw in whatever cheapest. What has Nemo done here? Matches the laptop. I mean, black kind of matches everything, to be honest. So there's the Nemo logo. You can use this to charge your cell phone. You can use this to charge anything USB-C rechargeable, flashlights, toothbrushes, shavers. If you're traveling, that means if everything you're traveling with is chargeable through USB-C, you only need to bring one charger and one cable. That's all that's in this box. The rest of it's totally empty. And so we'll go ahead and place that back down over here. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this around. And let's plug it in and turn it on for the first time. Sometimes, you know, people used to ask me a lot about how many dead on arrival products I would receive. And this was about 10, 15 years ago. And I've got to say, it's pretty rare that we ever get a product anymore. I mean, pretty rare, like lottery ticket rare, that a product has been arrived not working or damaged. It does still happen, but not with the frequency it used to. So everything's gotten a lot better in that regard, along with quality control from the manufacturers. I appreciate the longer cable here. I can't even stretch my arms out entirely. So that's one of the things I don't like about direct plug-ins, of course, is that we don't have the additional cable like a laptop would to give us a little more length. However, when it comes to USB-C chargers, they're pretty much all plugged directly into the wall, just like this one does. So in that case, everything's as to be expected. So let me plug it in. Now, typically, where you're going to plug these in, when you look around to any laptop, you're going to have ports on both sides. So here we've got USB-C. Let's see if I can go a little closer. We've got a USB-C, this one closest to the monitor. And almost every laptop you'll ever see in your life, that will be your charging port. Then we have a USB 3. We have an HDMI. We have another, looks like another USB-C. We have some kind of light over here that indicates power or charge. We've got our fingerprint sensor right here, if you want to use Windows Hello or passkeys. We've got our Go Faster stickers from AMD on the front. And across the other side here, we've got, this is a Kensington lock, if you want to put a steel cable like a bicycle lock on this to keep somebody from stealing it. That's an accessory they don't sell, but you can buy them on Amazon. We have a traditional headset jack, which is impressive on a laptop since most people would be using Bluetooth, which you can also do. We have a USB 3 and a USB 2 and a trans flash, also called micro SD card reader, right there. So there's room for expansion, and also if you want to transfer files from a device like a camera or a phone that uses a micro SD card, you don't have to hook it up through USB. You can just put the memory card right in there. So to plug this in, we're going to go right over here to the one closest to the monitor. And when I plug it in, I should get some kind of a light somewhere. Somewhere right there. There's a little orange light, and that light will probably turn green, or I'm not sure. But orange or red is typically universal when you're plugging things in that are being charged. And then we don't have to wait to charge it all the way up. The battery will have some charge, plus we're plugged in, so let's turn it on. We've got a power button right here. So we'll hit the power button, and we're going to do our very first power on self-test here. The laptop's 100% silent. I mean, completely silent. Now, once we get into Windows, I should be able to plug in the HDMI cable so you guys can have a direct feed rather than me pointing the camera at this. So let me grab my HDMI cable while we're waiting for our first boot. So many cables here in Studio C. Just because of the sheer variety of computer hardware that we work on. We use them all almost equally. Let me plug this bad boy in. Let's see, where's our HDMI out? Everything's going to be on this side. Give that a moment. Now, I'm not sure if that has registered at this point. So let's jump over to the streaming computer. We're going to go over here where this cable is plugged in so the video capture card can capture that output and send it directly to your monitor. So I'm going to borrow your monitors for a minute. Is that okay? It better be, because I'm doing it anyway. Here we go. Yes, that works. Good. Now I'm going to turn the laptop so it faces me, because I can't see it when you guys can see it, but now we can both see it equally. Now I want you to bear in mind, there is no Ethernet port on here. This is Wi-Fi only. I want to keep it this way for right now, as I would for any other new install of Windows, whether I built it myself, laptop, desktop, mini PC. We always do this the same. I can't emphasize this enough. With no internet access, we set up our out-of-box experience. We answer these questions. And when it wants to connect us, we're going to choose I don't have internet down here, just like that. And we'll accept the license agreement. We do that so we're not forced into a Microsoft account or forced into getting updates that won't give us any progress, won't tell us how long we've got to wait, and it won't allow us to continue to the desktop until it's done. So I like to see what's going on and have some control. I'm going to put my name as Nemo, press enter, and leave the password blank. And I'm going to leave location on. That way the date and time will be taken care of, such as, well, daylight saving. If you have your time zone set correctly and you have, or you have location settings on, you'll never have to adjust lost minutes or seconds that occur over time or to worry about changing your clock manually. We're past the whole VCRs that blink 12 thing. All right, so let the computer handle it is my best advice. And those of you that are too privacy minded, I mean, nobody knows who you are. So even if you exposed everything you did, nobody would care because they don't know who you are. You have obscurity through, well, you have security through obscurity. When you become famous for any reason whatsoever, then that's a different scenario. But that being said, I mean, if you still are paranoid or schizophrenic, you absolutely can feel that way. There's nothing illegal about feeling that way. If you believe you're really important when you're not, and you think people are interested in what you're doing when they could care less, so you want to make sure and turn off everything because you don't want to be spied on because you're oh so important, and everybody cares, you're welcome to live in that fantasy world and turn that off. But you know, I try to be reasonable with things, and especially when it comes to privacy, it's not equally important to all of us because some of us are more recognizable in public, and most of us, nobody knows who you are. So I don't see who cares. You know what I mean? It's like if you want to water your lawn today, it makes no difference in my life if you want to water your lawn. So you do you, I'll do me. And I'm not going to come over to your house and ask you why you're watering your lawn today because it's none of my business and I don't know who you are. Okay. Equally, you probably don't know who I am. And now we're going to get into a big argument or a fight over something that you should have just stayed in your own lane. But this is how I feel about privacy, and I'm not telling you it's the only way to feel or it's the right way to feel. It's how I feel. All right, you're allowed to feel differently. Right now we're at the desktop, and I'm just curious, if I right-click over here, what did they send us with regards to the RAM and the storage? Let's right-click on the Start button. Let's go to System. And let's see what we got. It is a Ryzen 7 Pro. They sent us the 16 gig version. It's Windows 11 Home. It's 24H2. That's understandable since 25H2 would have come out 2 weeks after this install date. So, you know, they don't have a crystal ball. Very acceptable. I don't expect to start seeing pre-installed 25H2 until after the first of the year. And even then, it's a little early. So we'll have some updates to do here. If we go to the Device Manager, we'll right-click on the Start button, go to Device Manager. We'll look at the network adapters and see what is the Wi-Fi here. So 802.11ac, that does sound like it's Wi-Fi 5 to me. 802.11ac. You verify 802.11 AC. Is that 5 or 6? AC is 5, AX is 6. So yeah, this is correct. It is Wi-Fi 5. So their marketing is 100% correct. Remember, I said a lot of these reviews are redundant because the manufacturers overall are telling you exactly what the reviewer is going to tell you. I don't know why. People still want to see the reviews, but my strongest advice to those of you who are considering making a purchase and you're looking at a review for a computer is that whatever chip that computer uses, that manufacturer didn't invent the AMD chip. They didn't invent the Intel chip or the Wi-Fi adapter or the storage drive. So whatever the specs are, if you can identify which chip it is, which model, or anything from RAM to storage to CPU, regardless of who makes it, they all operate within a very tiny percentage of each other. And if that tiny percentage matters to you, I mean, it's your time. You know, if you want to invest that much time to get that much back, go for it. But to me, in business, it's close enough to essentially be the same. It's not like there's a big discrepancy between the same model of chip in a different manufacturer's product. But again, you're welcome to believe or prioritize how you wish. But for me, you just have the convenience of more time than I do for what amounts to pennies. That being said, the best thing you can do is just forget all the numbers. As far as like comparing one manufacturer against another, they're all basically the same if they're using the same CPU, the same storage, or whatever it is you're measuring, RAM. And now you're looking at price, warranty, support, availability. And if everything looks pretty good and you're just not sure, the secret to knowing for sure is to buy it and experience it. Just make sure you buy from a seller like Amazon that has very effortless 30-day returns unless otherwise stated, or a manufacturer directly like Nemo that offers 90-day returns and is very easy to work with. If you don't like it, they don't even want you to have it. What they'd rather do is ask you why you don't like it, because they make so many. What they want to do is try and offer you a suggestion to help you make a better decision. So if you don't like it, it's likely because you undervalued your own values. So what Nemo will do is they'll say, well, there's no problem to return it, but what is it that you didn't like? Or where did it fall short for you? And it's not that they're trying to avoid refunding your money. What they're trying to do is, well, what is it that you were expecting? Because we likely have that and you just ordered the wrong thing. And we're happy to do a swap out, and if there's any payment difference to refund or where you can pay the difference. And then your 90 days starts over again, and then you can see if you agree with them. And then hopefully you're a happy customer. You'll tell your friends and you'll come back for another whenever that time comes. It's just a matter of time. This is how you build brand loyalty and you build relationships versus, having a big corporation like Walmart that just processes you like cattle. They don't care if you come back. Your loyalty means nothing. They're dealing in a numbers game, and your individual shopping, it means nothing to them. There's a million other people shopping there besides you, probably more than that. But even at your local store, in 1 year, I'm sure they service over 1 million people. I'm sure they service over 1 million customers in probably just a few months in one individual location. So you, as an individual, don't really matter to them. If you stop showing up, nobody's going to notice. Generally speaking, nobody's going to come knocking on your door and see if you're okay. Nemo's a smaller company, and so they can be more customer focused, more about relationship building. That's important to me, but it may not be important to you. There, covered every possibility there. Now, I don't want to hook this up to my Wi-Fi while I'm live on camera. So what I'll do is I always have a few of these adapters in here. So this is a USB type A to network interface adapter. These are anywhere from 10 to 20 bucks on Amazon, and they don't, well, most of them anyway, they don't require a driver from a third party. It's built into Windows 10 and 11 automatically. So all I have to do is plug this into an open USB port, and now I've got a wired LAN connection. This is also good if you've ever reinstalled an operating system and for whatever reason, your computer says there's no network drivers for Wi-Fi or LAN. But you have to go online to download the drivers, but you can't go online without the driver. Plug this in, it'll get you online without any third-party drivers. Then go get the drivers you need, install them, and then you can remove this. Or you can use this permanently. Either way. Options are great, aren't they? And it's very inexpensive, and no technical knowledge is needed. If you can plug, that little game where there's the round plug and the round hole and the square peg and the square hole. If you can do that, and you got 15 bucks, problem solved. And what's great is these don't expire. There's no subscription on these adapters. Just put it in a drawer and use it indefinitely until USB-A goes away, which I don't think is going to be in our lifetime. But in any event, we should be online now. So let me switch back over to the desktop. And let's visit Windows Update. We're going to get that done first. Check for updates. We'll turn this option on. And I personally like to turn these options on here. And then, oh, look at that. It's already ready to restart. Let's go ahead and let it restart right now, because the minute I plugged it in, it was already downloading updates in the background, because Microsoft knows people don't take their security seriously. And then they cry and whine that they were victims of their own ignorance, but it's Microsoft's fault. They won't accept responsibility. So Microsoft says, fine, we're going to do it for you so that you're not refusing to accept responsibility. We're just going to force it on you, whether you like it or not. It's for your own good. It's like forcing you to take your medicine and you don't want to take it. And Microsoft is saying, we don't care if you take it or not, but when you get sick or suffer and you blame us for it, that's where we cross the line. So if you're wondering why that's the policy, you guys created it. Now, by you guys, obviously I'm talking to the people who exhibit that behavior. Most of those people don't watch YouTube videos. We're talking about the general public. If the general public did watch like technical YouTube videos, they would already know this. And there's your evidence that they don't. We've already rebooted, so let me get back over to the desktop here. And we're going to go back to Windows Update. And then what I'm going to do while it's checking is I'm going to make sure my power savings, when I'm plugged in, I don't need the computer to go to sleep. That's something I want to do to conserve battery power. So we're never going to put the computer to sleep. And we'll keep the display on for a couple hours, just so it doesn't go to sleep on us while we're live. But normally I'd probably set that to about 10 or 20 minutes. And if I was on battery, yeah, I might leave it at 3 minutes, because if I'm on battery and I'm not using the computer for 3 minutes, that's less battery life I've got later when I might need it. So, but you can adjust all that to whatever you like. Now here you can see we're even getting an update to the network interface card, which I think is our USB card. But so far, we're going to have to get all these updates first, and then it should offer us 25H2 after that. So while that's updating, let me come back over to camera one. Let me get into the chat and see if you guys have any questions for me while we're waiting for updates to install. Andy says, I bought one just like that, except it has a Ryzen 6800H, which is a slightly better CPU. There you go. And I'm sure it was either a little bit more money or on sale. You do get what you pay for in the industry. So whatever amount of money is in your budget to get the most value for your dollar, I think anything from Nemo fits the bill without exception. Not that Nemo is your only choice, but just since we're talking about Nemo, it's not like they only have certain products that are of value. I think all their products hold value and are priced to their value. You get more, you usually pay more. Andy said support told him his was advertised with Wi-Fi 5 and it's been upgraded to Wi-Fi 6. I see. Well, you have a different model than we do. But I see how you got there. Paul Vircher says the RAM is soldered and it's stated on the web page. Well, it's weird they would identify the RAM as A data if it's soldered on. That's pretty unusual, at least in my experience. But we'll open it up and we'll have a look before today's video is done. Dustin Fuller joins us in the chat, as does John K. David Graham said he has an old clock radio, alarm clock, that blinks 12 when the power goes out. Well, that means your backup battery is not installed. That would be why there's a little typically 9-volt battery plug in the back. You might want to use that. Let's see. Rick Lakes joins us and says hello. There's Spider-Man the hero. Joining us in the chat, welcome in everybody. Luke Greenia from Vermont joining us here as well. If you're watching live, we'd love to see you in the chat. Just come on in and say hello. There's plenty of room. The invitation is open, but like any other invited guest, please behave as a guest. Or like any misbehaving guest, expect the same consequences as you do in real life. You want to come in? Yeah, thanks for the invite, you jerk. You know what? You can get the hell out. Let's see. Stan Ristov joins us and says hello. He says, it's been a long time since I've watched you. Welcome back, Stan. And Mike Gamer joins us and says hello. Poorly Boy says, can you build a laptop? You can build a framework laptop. It's going to cost you a lot of money. But yeah, there you go. Mark Leibowitz said he bought a USB 2.5 gig network adapter from Ugreen. And he says he's only getting 100 megabits. It tests about 100 megabits per second slower than my desktop's Ethernet port. And a J5 Create adapter I forgot I had. I don't even know what a J5 Create adapter is. So the Ugreen one is heading back to Amazon, and the J5 Create one, which works great, is going in my toolkit. I mean, look, if you've got a 2500 megabit per second Ethernet adapter and you're complaining you're only getting 2400 out of it, these are definitely first world problems. But hey, good testing, I suppose. All Roblowski says, I'm finally out of hospital. I got new knees and got over a kidney stone. I'm also going back for surgery in December. Well, glad you're on the mend. I hear those kidney stones can be mind-alteringly painful. And you know, knees, boy, you don't realize how important they are until they don't work anymore. And good for you for getting that taken care of, and hopefully you'll be better than ever here in a few weeks' time. In the meantime, we'll try and keep you distracted if nothing else here. I'm really good at that. 3D Everything says hello, and there's also Frank Studio saying hello from the Netherlands. I just upgraded to 25H2. Very good. Mark Leibowitz said J5 Create is a brand of accessories best known for Mac compatible. Oh, that's why I've never heard of them. Okay. But they do make some that are for general use. Gotcha. R. Roblowski says it's kidney stones are worse than childbirth. Do you know that from first-hand experience? Either way, I don't want either. But I'm glad to hear it. Sounds like the worst of it's over for you anyway. All right, let's see how we're doing over here with our update. We're downloading a preview update. We can restart now. Let's just do what I don't normally do and go ahead and restart it now for the heck of it. Let those updates install, and we'll go back and check for some more updates. Mark Leibowitz said, just for more clarity, he was replacing a USB Ethernet adapter that was delivering inconsistent, lopsided performance. I see. All right, so there were some symptoms. You weren't just looking and measuring, but there was a reason behind it. Now I'm with you. Damien Russell said hello from Lambourne in the UK. They probably say something like Lambourne. Gotta get used to these UK pronunciations. All right, let's get back over here. It looks like the desktop's already come back up, and we're gonna go back over to Windows Update. And we're already back to re-downloading. One of the reasons I don't like restarting, even when the restart button is there, is if it's still downloading or installing, it usually starts taking longer because you've lost what you've already downloaded in many cases. And so while you might feel like you're making progress, you're actually slowing yourself down, as demonstrated here. But that's okay. It's just time. We have endless amounts of time, don't we? Just here forever. Sure. Why not? Frank wants to know when we're going to get the new start menu. The new start menu is already on 25H2. It's just not turned on. I think Microsoft will turn it on after some more testing. There are YouTube videos that can show you there's like a tool you download and you can hack to get the start menu exposed. But my concern is if you were to do that, you might find out why it's not available yet. But if I do a quick Google search, just out of curiosity, when will we see the new start menu, 25H2? Let's see what Google says. This new start menu will roll out as part of the November 2025 security update. It will take some time before it arrives for everyone. These updates, they have a controlled rollout so that the servers aren't getting slammed. So it looks like that update is probably the second Tuesday of November. Now, whether or not you get it that day automatically or you have to go and manually check, it sounds like from this information, if this information is correct, you should get that. And again, I'm assuming the November 2025 security update is part of the second Tuesday of the month normal update release pattern. So that's my guess. How are we doing over here? So we got the cumulative update for .NET Framework completed, and now we're waiting on this particular preview update. And this drives me crazy because it'll just sit here. And I don't know why sometimes Windows Update will do this. Now, I have found if you just ignore it, it will eventually get back on board. On the other hand, I've also found sometimes restarting the computer or unplugging the internet cable and plugging it back in forces it to reconnect. Whatever its timeout is, I don't know what's causing it. I don't know how close it is to reconnecting, but we have a very fast connection here. So to see that sit, it's not a problem with the computer. It's a problem with the way Microsoft Update servers are handling the data. So what I've done is I've unplugged the Ethernet cable and plugged it back in. And as soon as I plugged it back in, it went to 3%. Now it's moving again. And this is like a forced way to reawaken the Windows Update server on any computer. Or you may choose to be more passive. Just walk away. It will eventually wake itself back up. But what's up with that? You're going to have to ask Microsoft. But and plugging the cable in, removing the cable, plugging it back in, as you can see, that made an effect here, but it may not always. So bear that in mind. It's not a guaranteed fix, but it's something easy if you wanted to continue to be intolerant and impatient, as I am demonstrating right now. It's something easy to try. Thomas MacT says he forgot to fall back. There you go. I told you we'll get some viewers in here an hour late. That's okay. Better to do that on a weekend than on a weekday, and you're going to be running late for an appointment or you got to go to work. Anything about the new start menu you're looking forward to? Because there's absolutely no difference to me at all. I could take it or leave it. I really don't care. I very rarely even use the start menu anymore. Pretty rare. I would guess most of the time when I go to the start menu, I'm trying to get into the settings of something. So I'm going to click the gear icon, and I don't think that's going to change one iota with the new start menu, but I'm just curious what you see in it, because I don't understand the point of it. Planet Cryos with a $2 super chat says, "Hi you, nano you." Thanks, Planet Cryos. Welcome in, and he just posted a new video on his channel. If you're not following Planet Cryos on YouTube, a member of our community, has his own YouTube channel, and he does make some fantastic content. A lot of BIOS updates. If you want to know the ins and outs of BIOS updates on a variety of different computers and how they compare, that's your guy. But he also covers some gadgets and regular computer maintenance. And it's free. Just go over there, check him out, show him a little love. Scott's joining us, says hello. Welcome in, Scott. I'm still looking at 6% on this thing. It hasn't budged. So I'm going to try this again. Wake it back up. Unplug the cable. Plug the cable back in. It starts to get an IP address and negotiate with the router again. It's connected, and now Windows Update should then say, oh, I should try again. You can't see anything what's happening behind Windows Update. This curtain of progress really doesn't show you what's happening if there's a disconnect. But that moved, just because I did that, that moved from 6% to 10%. I mean, we have a fast internet connection here. So I don't understand why this is a normal thing I encounter. All I can tell you is if you encounter it too, normally what I do is I just walk away. If it takes an hour, if it takes 2 hours, what do I care? It's really when I'm live that I want to get it done and move on. So being stuck at 10%, I'm going to unplug it again. Plug it back in. It's going to renegotiate with the router. It's saying downloading at 10% still. Now it's 11. See, it's already moved up one that quickly. And then it just stays on 11. So I'll give it just a minute or two to see if it's going to get back on board with us here. Because I should be seeing some regular updates, at least every 30 seconds to 1 minute, of seeing a percentage, go from 11% to 12 or 13, some sort of progress. But it's stuck on 11% now. So once again, I'm going to unplug it. And then the Windows Update says, do you want to retry? I plug this back in. I get the flashing icon on the bottom right. It goes right back to downloading again without me pressing retry. It says 11% still. We're not hurting anything by doing it, but we also may be making it worse. It could be slowing it down. How do I know that wouldn't have just jumped it to 11% if I would have just waited this long and left it alone? I have a suspicion it still would have been at 6%. However, in this example, we're still stuck at 11%. It's made no difference yet, which I find, to be up. Now it just went to 12%. So it is working very slowly. I think maybe the Windows Update servers are getting hammered. I really don't know what's going on over there. Planet Cryos with a $5 super chat said, I had that issue on my mother's new mini PC. I was impatient also. So I just reinstalled Windows. I need more patience. Well, this is true. I mean, we could download and install Windows 11 25H2 and just bypass all this, because that's all baked into 25H2. And then we can download the drivers from Nemo and just put the drivers back in it. You certainly can do that. And yeah, that might be 3 times faster than letting Microsoft take care of it. I think that if you order a brand new computer with an operating system on it, you shouldn't have to rebuild it. But a lot of people will rebuild it anyway because they don't trust the build or the configuration that the manufacturers chosen. Mark Leibowitz said I had to look up the new start menu. Looks like Microsoft is putting back menu organization a la Windows 10, but with a more modern look. Anyone here know anybody who organized their start menu in Windows 10? Fair question. Anybody still use the start menu? And Mark Leibowitz says, when I say I organize my start menu, I also want to say I do a lot of other anal retentive things that leave other people shaking their heads, so I might not be representative of the mainstream. You and me both, brother. So we're still at 12% here on our download. And I've never personally just had to keep unplugging this. Normally I just do it once and it wakes back up and suddenly starts moving the way it's supposed to. This is now what, the 4th or 5th time I've done this. It's just now reconnected, still at 12%. And it should pick up where it left off. You know, it's like pulling on the pant leg of Windows Update going, hey, I've got this much. Can I have the rest, please? So give that a minute, and it's not going to happen instantaneously in most cases. But within a minute or two, ideally, we'll see that percentage move forward, at least by 1 percentage point anyway. So far, it's still at 12%, and keep an eye on that, see how it's progressing. Sometimes restarting the computer, but as you can see, we don't have a restart option here. But sometimes restarting it can help, but look at how that's starting. This is how it should have been moving the whole time. So I want to reiterate, this is a Microsoft Update server issue. It has nothing to do with the computer, and none of you are immune from this, regardless if you built your own computer, if it's new, or even if you have an old computer. Whatever reason, it was busy doing something. Finally, it's starting to pay attention to us and delivering the file with the speed that we would expect it to. So Lord only knows what that's all about. So yeah, we're really close to the end on that download, and then it can begin the installation. Once we reboot after that, we should be offered, I imagine, we'll be offered 25H2. I'm not going to spend too much time on the updates, but I do want to demonstrate this is a normal process regardless of who makes your computer, the age of it. And there's really nothing for you to fix here. And again, it will eventually do this on its own. If I wasn't making a live video, I would have walked away from this and gone and done something else and came back and checked it. This is another reason I wouldn't want the computer to go to sleep on me, is if it's in the middle of downloading, it's going to take 2 hours and it goes to sleep after 4 minutes or something, then everything kind of shuts off and the download stops. And it won't start again until I come back over to check on it and realize it's been basically in sleep mode and not working. That could be very frustrating, let me tell you. So a lot of times during an initial setup where I know I'm going to be spending a couple hours waiting on updates or downloads, I definitely want to adjust that sleep time, preferably to never. And then when I'm done, I just have to remember to put it back to where I want it to be, because then it's just maintenance from that point forward. It's a little tip from your Uncle Carey. The Windows 11 Optimizer, for those of you who don't know, we're very close to releasing it. When I say we, I want to make it very clear. This is not my code. These are my ideas. This is my vision. And the man who makes it happen is Nick over at D7X Tech. I'm talking to Nick right now about how perfect do we need the tool to be before we release it. I feel like Nick has done such a good job on this tool. The best way we can refine it any further is to get a bunch of people's opinions. So for all the work Nick has done, he's not going to get paid until we start selling this thing. So Nick and I are just trying to figure out what a good price would be. We sold our original Windows 10 Optimizer for, oh wait, this is installing now. Okay, cool. The original Windows 10 Optimizer was $7. But then $7 used to be able to buy lunch at McDonald's back then. And this tool does about 4 or 5 times more than the old tool did. It's a lot more time invested in it. So with the inflation and the fact the tool doesn't require a license, that you can use it as many times as you want forever. I'm trying to think what a good price would be. Scott's suggesting $29.99. I do feel that's a bit premium. I know $10 is too cheap. I'll definitely say that. Maybe in the middle, sell it for 20. I don't know, tell me what you think. It is a buy once product. We don't get you on a subscription. Once you buy it, that's all we're ever gonna make. And the money does go to support both Nick for his hard work. Nick also handles the payment processing, the distribution, and the support. And then the rest comes to me and goes back into the channel. So it's a way of supporting the channel, but also getting a little something for yourself. A lot of people saying they pay $29.99. That surprises me, and I'm kind of tickled. But I also see $20, $25. Jock suggesting €15. That's about $20. 17. 15. 20. Planet Cryo says $18.99 plus $1.99. No, $1.99 plus $18.99 in shipping. $21. The great thing about the optimizer is it's worldwide. There's no tariffs, there's no distribution. And it has a check for updates option. So as Nick continues to refine it or add features to it to react to any sort of Microsoft updates that might change things, we're building the network fix into it. We're going to display your SID on there, so if you're having networking problems, you don't have to go through all these manual commands. And of course, all of the optimizations that I like in Windows 10, we carry over as well. There's a bunch of new stuff. If you recall, the interface used to be about this big, and then you had like, 12 or 15 options. Now it's like this big, and you have like 45 options. It's much larger, and each option can be turned on or off as desired. And I'm really excited about it. In fact, when Nick sent me the beta, he hit it right out of the park. It was so good. Oh, come see. What is Mara has been baking. Can I see it? Or do you want to show it? Just turn right here to the camera. Keep walking up, get closer to the camera. What are we looking at?
So Carey have found these really neat silicone molds. I'm obviously a big fan of skulls, but seeing the size of the mold, I wanted to do something fun with it. So I thought, why not make a scone and turn it into a skull and see if it works? Well, it worked. This is low carb, sugar free. It's 100% diet friendly. Super fun.
But what is it?
It's a cheese cone.
Cheese. What flavor is it? Like cheddar cheese?
So I used a white cheddar powder. I also used grated jalapeno cheddar cheese.
It's a giant spicy Cheez-It?
It's a giant spicy Cheez-It. Yeah, this is using that flour that I'm such a big fan of. But I was just playing around, and I wanted to see if I could get the mold to work, and it worked great. So yeah, now it's a skull. Next I'll do, I don't know, cheesecake brownies or something and put it in the mold. The mold is pretty big, so this is a pretty big scone, and it's a little bit heavy to a certain extent. I mean, it's not like a pound, but it's got weight.
Now you're gonna have to taste it and see if you like it.
Well, it's still warm.
Yeah.
So I was just waiting.
Aren't scones best when they're warm?
Usually, yes, but
well,
I wanted it to cool down entirely to see what the texture is going to turn
Sure.
into. I mean, it's still it's a little bit firm. I mean, for the most part, it's perfect. But I'm shocked and amazed, and I love this. I think it's great. What do you guys think? Awesome.
Mara's cookbook just got released here on Amazon. And that's not in there, but maybe a recipe for another day, another book, I mean.
Well, the scone recipe is in the cookbook, and not with the skulls, though, not with the mold.
So you're just changing the mold.
Yeah, that is correct.
But there's no mold on the scone.
No,
The scone's on the mold. That's a different kind of mold.
This is neat, right?
And this is Mara's. Oops, that's not Mara's page. Where is it?
The cookbook is available as a paperback, a hardback, and Kindle.
Flower Power Cooking.
Yeah.
This just got printed. Available on Kindle, hardcover, or paperback. Ships everywhere Amazon ships. Now this one's focusing on this flower, this Unbeliever flower.
Yeah.
And your other one is more...
a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it's not real specific to ingredients.
Right.
I was really disappointed that Amazon, this was an $18 book, and we don't know what happened. But we're discussing maybe taking this down and reformatting it into a different kind of paper or size book.
Yeah.
And bring that price back down again.
Yeah, I need to redo that one.
You came out with that on March 9th, and then it took you months to put this together.
Yeah, well, and then having the practice, I was able to do the second one much.
And this one came out in October.
Like a week ago.
So yeah, and so hopefully there'll be a third book maybe in a few months
being
too.
in here, this is cooling it down nicely.
Let me jump back over to camera one. Well, it turned out really well.
Yeah, it actually did. Yeah,
I mean, you don't have to guess what it is. You're just a day late for Halloween, but you know, I guess.
But this isn't. It's
gonna be
talking about? Look at how I decorate.
I know
my house.
everything with you is Halloween. It's a Halloween every day.
I would live in a spirit of Halloween if I could.
This is still installing, so yeah, we'll just keep you distracted while we wait for that to finish. Good work. Back in the kitchen.
I'm in the kitchen.
If I were to buy a copy of Windows for this, which I would not have to do, again, Nemo will provide your Windows 11 Home, your Windows 11 Pro, and you know, I just demonstrated you can go to their support and download that, or you can reach out to their support and they'll guide you through that. But if I were going to buy a Windows 11 Home or a Windows 11 Pro, I go to our endorsement here, which is VIP UR CD keys. And I always like to give them a shout out in different parts of the video, because I don't want to always do the same thing, and especially for our regular viewers, I don't want to hammer them over the head with these, you know, in place ads, if you will, that are always the same, and then people will fast forward through it. I know, because I do that myself. So I try to keep these lively, and I try to mix it up a little bit. So each time you may hear it, the story a little different because it's not scripted. But effectively, you know, we go to their website. We have links in our video notes. They offer all of you 25% off those listed prices. Now, these prices do change regularly. So the screenshots we've grabbed here are in September. Prices have changed since then. They don't necessarily go up. They may also go down. There's an exchange rate between whatever currency you're using and the currency they accept. And that's the reason why the price may change. That being said, Windows 10 license keys still work to activate Windows 11. And the Windows 10 license keys are a couple dollars cheaper. Just be sure you're buying a home license key to activate a home copy of Windows. Whether it's 10 or 11 is just price. They work equally. Make sure you buy a Pro license if you want to activate a Pro version of Windows. And when you do is you install Windows without a product key, and then leave it disconnected like I always do from the internet on a first install. Once you get your install done, then I connect it to the internet, then I download Windows updates, and I make sure that everything about the computer is functional. Everything, drivers, everything. You never really have to activate Windows, by the way. It will run indefinitely with a watermark and just prevent you from making some wallpaper changes and customizations, but it'll 100% work without any license key indefinitely. But if you want that license key, it should be the last thing you do. Make sure the computer's all 100% functional, because these license keys are very inexpensive because they're tying themselves to your specific motherboard. So if you find out you got to send the motherboard back, you're sending back your license key, you will have to buy another license key. The good news is you could buy about 10 license keys before you would equal the price of one Windows license key at retail price. For the prices, if you were to buy it directly from Microsoft, you could buy this 9 times over and still have money left over compared to what one license at Microsoft will cost. But yeah, those licenses at Microsoft may be able to get moved around from one computer to another without you having to repurchase. But I hope you're moving it around more than 10 times. Otherwise, you're wasting your money, in my opinion. So we put that out there for you guys because we really do believe it's a community service to save you money, as well as Microsoft Office products. And check out their catalog. The discount code works on everything. All the links for what I talked about are in the video description below today's video, along with the links to the laptop, which is telling me right now it's finally ready for us to reboot it. So let's go ahead and do that. And while that reboots, I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to come back over here. Also, we'll make sure Mara has links to her cookbooks in there. The cookbooks are particularly important to people that are keto, low carb, sugar-free, for any reason, diabetic, a lot of reasons, a lot of health reasons. You might just want to eat healthier so that you don't have to eat healthier. I'm just saying, some people want to eat healthy. And a lot of times when people hear the word eating healthy, they hear, you know, sacrificing the joy of eating. It's not fun. It doesn't taste good. The texture's off. That's where Mara's cookbook comes in, because she's got some sugar alternatives and flour alternatives that you may not even know exist. One sugar alternative she loves to use is allulose, which unfortunately is not available in Canada or the UK, or I don't even think Europe. Although there's no testing to suggest allulose is bad for you, Europe says we don't have any testing that proves it's good for you, so therefore you cannot have it. And yet the United States has been selling it here for years. There's no reports of any negative health consequences in the years it's been available. And this unbelievable flour and allulose are two of those common ingredients that are not good for you, that now have adequate replacements. And what a shame that the European government doesn't allow their citizens to make their own decisions. It really offends me. So rather than saying we don't have any reason not to, they say we don't have any evidence to support that this is healthy. But you don't have any evidence to support it's not healthy either, other than the evidence of the United States using it and other countries using it to no known issues whatsoever. It's very strange to me that they would caution on the side of danger when there's no suggested example. Doesn't exist other than in their imagination. At the end of the day, the government will allow you in Europe to buy sugar, and they'll allow you to buy flour, and they will allow you to get sick from eating that stuff. But they don't think that's dangerous. Can anybody explain that to me? Because that makes no sense. But I'm also not European, so you know, maybe that's got something to do with me being an American and enjoying my freedom. Oh, you got a plate of skulls.
Oh my God, that is so awesome. I love it. I love it so much.
I think I recognize that guy. I didn't know my trolls could be so delicious.
Right. I love it. I love
nice.
it. Love it.
Well, I'm glad you like those new molds.
Thank you.
Back in the kitchen. All right, this is just finally rebooted. We're going to get back over here, and we're going to take a look one more time. I'm just curious if 25H2 will be offered to us. Sometimes you got to check for updates twice. You notice how fast that first one was? It was obvious it didn't really check. So don't be fooled. And we got an antivirus update. So 25H2 not yet being offered. So I'm not going to force the issue right now because I want to move on and open this up, take a look at the guts. We've already seen the skull. Now let's look at the guts. Also, I think we've got the 1 terabyte drive in here. I didn't check. Oops. Here. Yeah, 1 terabyte drive. And it's supposed to be what they say, Kingston or Western Digital. Let's go over to hardware. It's Western Digital Green SN350. There you go. It's nice when they use name brand manufacturers. A lot of these other manufacturers that perhaps you never heard of, we've all know the Dells, the HPs, the Lenovo's, and Acer. But what about these other manufacturers? Are they as good? Could they be better? Many people assume they're worse because they're less money. And when these manufacturers are using name brand components for RAM and storage and even Wi-Fi, I think that alleviates some of the concern regarding quality, because it's the same exact parts the other manufacturers are using. So how does it become any worse simply because a lesser known brand is using the same exact product? Then that NVMe drive is going to run exactly the same regardless of what you plug it into, you know, assuming it matches the specifications. If it's Gen 3 or Gen 4, it will run the same in any Gen 3 or Gen 4 accordingly. Whether it's a big name manufacturer or a manufacturer you've never heard of. The difference is the manufacturer that you've never heard of likely doesn't have to charge as much. They don't have as much overhead. They don't have as many employees. And they also don't have as much bureaucracy. So if you want to work with a company that appreciates your business and wants to build a relationship with you, Nemo is a great example of a company like that. If, on the other hand, you just want to be an anonymous shopper, like a pile of ants all going into your anthill called Walmart, you go in, you go out, you blend in, you don't stand out, nobody notices you were ever there, nobody cares, and if you never come back, no one notices. You've got the larger manufacturers for that too, and the big retailers. When you deal with the big retailers, if it's Best Buy, if it's Walmart, they don't know who you are. They really don't care. And even if you're a regular person, you know, regular shopper, and you get to know some of the employees, those employees don't usually stay there very long anyway. So it's all temporary when there is recognition, and there's no sort of I'll cut you a deal since, you know, you're here all the time. I will say that the smaller companies, more often than not, are trying harder to earn your business when they may be selling exactly the same as the big name brands. Maybe, and that's why we're looking at these machines. We have found Nemo to 100% be a much better value for the same components with a better warranty, better customer support. And as I mentioned, you can download Home Pro of Windows 11 or Linux already from their support website. So you don't have to create it all yourself. You still can if you want to. You don't have to, like you do with the other manufacturers. Or they don't find that as a way to nickel and dime you, which other manufacturers do. And as I mentioned, their accessories here are cheaper. I believe they're cheaper than what you can buy a no-name brand 100-watt USB charger for on Amazon. So you get it direct from the manufacturer with that support intended to work for this device. And it's cheaper? How's that possible? Why isn't everybody doing this? I'll let you know when I find the answer. Bajan guy saying $25 is fine for that new optimizer. Yeah, I appreciate your feedback and your suggestions, and Nick and I are discussing that now. We want to hurry up and get it out there. We do think it's got a little polishing to go, but there's no better way to put that final polish on it than release it to the public and get feedback, and then just go ahead and do the updates. And you know, there's just no such thing as a perfect piece of software. Even if we polished it to the best of our ability before we release it, and let's say that postpones our release until February or maybe January, it doesn't mean it'll be 100% flawless, because there may be things in the ways that you use it that we hadn't considered. So I do feel like we're 99% there. There's knowingly 1% of improvement, which, by the way, Nick is going to work on that before he releases it. The problem is what we don't know, and we were not going to know it until we put it out. So, you know, I think we're ready for release. Now we're just figuring out the price. And this is still updating that anti-malware update, which I didn't think would take this long. But once that's done, we'll reboot it and shut it down, actually. And we'll go ahead and take the back panel off and take a look on the inside and verify that RAM is soldered in. Here we go. I'll do that right now. And we'll come back over to camera 1. And I'm going to need a little toolkit here. We do have some lights above the keys. That appears to be a power light, which is a light bulb. And then there is a light next to that, which appears to be caps lock, I'm going to guess. And then the light next to that, I think, is the number lock key. And then we've got the light on the side, and that would be your charging status, which is still red. It looks orange on the camera, but it's red in person. Now, I don't want to open this up with it being plugged in, so I'm going to go ahead and just take all the plugs out of it right now. I would recommend you set something soft underneath of your computer if you have to put it face down onto a hard surface, just to keep it from marring the surface of the table and also to keep it from marring the top of the laptop. Now, I'm going to be real careful, and we have a nice polished bench here, but you know, even putting a towel, something down, doesn't have to be anti-static. It should be, but it doesn't have to be. Microfiber cloth, piece of wax paper, you know, something to just give you a little cushion. We've got just regular Phillips screws. Looks like we've got 5 across the back, 1, 2, 3, 4 across the middle, 1, 2, 3, 4 across the front. So I think my regular jeweler's screwdriver here will work, or if I want to get all fancy, I have this Nanch toolkit. And unlike iFixit and other well-known brands, this is a really good value. I think this was $20 or something, really inexpensive. And they give you so many different kinds of styles of bits, a magnetizer, demagnetizer, and the screwdriver handle. And everything seems really super well made. They don't know who I am. I'm not paid to tell you about it. But if you're wondering what is that thing I'm using, am I going to bring back camera 2? There it is. And you just search on Amazon for Nanch, N-A-N. It's like ranch where the first letter is an N like Nancy. Metal handle. Planet Cryos with a $5 super chat says, my mother's mini PC has a Ryzen, a Radeon SATA solid state drive. I'd never heard of Radeon. It sounds cheap. And that's in an Ace Magic V1 N150. Yeah, well, I mean, if it works, the proof is in the pudding. Time tells all secrets, you know. So you'll have to report back if there's anything to report back on. I'm guessing which bit I need. That one's too small. Let me try something a little bit bigger. Let's go to this one over here. That locks in. Oh, there we go. This has a little spinny top, so if you just put a hand on it, and then you can just spin it. And you know, I like to take these out in the order that I remove them, or set the screws down rather, in the order that I remove them. So starting with that top corner, this will be my top row. Notice there is a height difference in those screws, so I don't have to worry about remembering where each screw went. Those are really, really tiny. And I don't have to space them out, you know, to scale, as long as they're in the right order in the right row. Super easy to remember that. Have the laptop facing me, and that first row will be the first row from my perspective here. Some people will use those magnetic mats, or they'll have some elaborate system. I'm a big fan to keep it simple. Why make life more complicated than it already is? And this one on the end, I guess, is a hinge screw. So it's probably going to be a bigger one to support the weight of the monitor. Then we're going to remove the same here on the middle. So we start a new row directly under the first one on that side. Same here, or as close as we get, whatever the order is. Again, I don't have to put them to scale. Even though this one's, look how long this one is in the middle. I just need to know what's the next one to the left. I don't need it to physically be located between these two like it is. I can figure that part out on my own. So there's no reason I see people just go over the top with the organization of screw removal. And, you know, you continue to do it that way. I'm going to continue to do it my way. There is a method to my madness, and I just want to explain it. All right, and then that's the last screw in the middle. And then finally, we've just got the 4 screws up front. Now these screws are a bit on an angle. You're not going to go straight down with these. You're going to go on almost a 45-degree angle. Not 45 degree, I suppose that'd be like 25 or 30-degree angle. When you're putting these back in, it's important because if you try and put them straight in, you may cross thread them. And then when you run your finger across it, you'll feel the screw. It'll be sticking up. That's because you didn't put it back in on the correct angle. And it's definitely something you can feel if you're using a manual screwdriver. I don't use any electric precision drivers because I don't trust them, quite frankly. We do have Minisform sent us an electronic precision driver, and I've never used it. Mara says she loves it. I say, well, knock yourself out. It's not like I'm going to save myself carpal tunnel syndrome on screws that tiny. Now, if we had 75 of them, I might say different, but certainly removing the screws with an electric driver is a lot safer than trying to put the screws back in. That's really where my concern comes from. Now the question is, you know, with some of these laptops, they can be very difficult to open. Well, I have found in previous experience with these Nemos that I don't need a spudger, that if I reach in the back, there's a lip where this gap is. If I can get my fingers in there, and I'm got raccoon hands, as they might say, I can get my fingers in there on both sides and just gently pull up on it. Don't use too much force, just see if it starts to give. See how it's popping? And I'm not ripping it off where it's going to go flying across the room. Gentle pressure, just like stepping on the accelerator of a car. Don't push it to the floor. Just start pressing down gently. You'll feel the car start moving, and it'll indicate if it's ready for some more, right? Depending on, you know, if the car starts shaking and everything, maybe stop pushing down on the gas pedal. Once we get one side, I don't necessarily need the entire back removed. Something's really sticking right here. And if you force it, you can break the clips. But you see how I'm using leverage with my thumbs and pulling up? And there's a certain amount of pressure that I'm not going to exceed because I'm afraid I'm going to break something. And when I'm in business, whether the machine is new or old, it's not my machine. And I wouldn't want to scratch up a customer's computer. And when you know it, I wouldn't want to scratch up my own computer either. So I always treat it the same. Once you have a corner lifted up, sometimes you can kind of drag a finger and pull up and see if there's going to be any cooperation with the clips. Yeah. I mean, as far as opening laptops go, and you can see I just run my finger through here very gently. You can also remove some of the pressure from your fingers. You know, because it's leaving little indents on my fingers, but it's not cutting into my skin. Now notice how that's really coming up very easily. Now, whatever the issue I was having back here, if I pull it up like this, notice the amount of force difference. And that's all based on feel. There's no benchmark that's going to feel for you. You must still honor what it is to be human and not think that AI is going to replace your world and Google's going to give you all the answers. Nobody can tell you about what feeling means. It's something that you have to judge for yourself and you have to feel. Now, when computers can start feeling, smelling, tasting, and have any emotions, then perhaps then we can talk about it. But inside, what you're going to see is there is no upgradable RAM in here. I can identify that right away. What we are seeing is a left and a right speaker. Our battery, which you can see can be easily unscrewed and replaced very, very easily. This is our NVMe drive right here. And I'm looking to see if there's anywhere else for another NVMe drive. Does not appear to be. So just one NVMe slot. This is our Wi-Fi adapter. It is soldered in place. These squares, these are likely our RAM here, here, and here. And remember, I said when you see LP DDR5, LP is low power, and usually the way you get to low power is you take it out of a socket. That also means the RAM can be faster and cheaper and more reliable. So that's the upside of soldered-in RAM. The downside is if you change your mind and decided you wanted 32 gigs of RAM, you'd have to buy a new laptop. So I would suggest you buy this with 32 gigs. Now the NVMe, you can change that out yourself. That's nothing. That's one screw, the whole NVMe drive comes out. That's our CMOS battery right here. And then this separate board here is going to be all the connections on the side and LED. LED on that side? No, LED's on this side. And that's all there is to it. Let me bring it up to the camera. Let's go close up here. If I don't trip over myself. Okay. So for those of you who want to look at both sides of the coin, you say, oh, I can't replace my RAM. That's a bummer. Okay, but the RAM is cheaper. The laptop is cheaper. There's less likelihood of having any bad RAM ever occurring. The laptop can be thinner, and you get a lot more for your money with faster RAM for the same price. So there's a good side and there's a bad side. Just because you prefer one side over the other does not devalue the other side. So again, just for a close-up, this is our battery, obviously our cooler, our heatsink, our M.2 drive. Now their advertising says that's ADATA RAM, but I don't think it says ADATA on that. You see those two wires? Those are your antennas to your soldered down Wi-Fi, so that's not upgradable either. And if you want to see the front of it with our Nemo logo, and we can open it up here if you want to see a close-up of the keyboard. It is a backlit keyboard. And of course a close-up of the ports. Nothing on the back. It'd be kind of hard when the monitor opens, and if you had cables there, you wouldn't be able to open the monitor. And of course, no Ethernet port, which is common with these thin and light laptops. Very light. And let's see if we can grab my thumbnail image while I'm here. Let's see if I can come up with something extraordinarily silly. Where am I going to stand? Trying to think of a Mr. Beast face. A look of like, oh my. I'm becoming Charles Nelson Riley. Yes. Okay, I'm never going to do that again. All right, so step around. Overall, before I put the cover back on it, does anybody have any questions for me? Can I tell if the RAM is in dual channel mode? Yeah, we can turn it back on and go in the task manager. Sure. I'm sure it's going to be in dual channel. Sure it is. But it's a fair question, and I could be wrong until I check. I always advise you guys, always verify before you assume. Get your facts right, double check your facts, then react. So I should follow my own advice here. Let me throw the cover back on it. I'll leave the screws out of it right now just so we can keep things moving. We can run Crystal Disk Mark on this NVMe drive and see what kind of numbers we get out of it. So to put this back in, I would probably start at the back and just start pushing down until I hear it clicking. Generally, you don't have to worry about breaking the clips when installing. It's usually just removing it where you've got to be cautious. Now, if there's any areas I've missed, you can usually visually see, if you take a look and see where the plastic seam isn't completely sealed, just push down in that area. If my computer or my screen will focus, we'll go here. And just visually look. And you can see where it may not be completely flush at the seam. If you're not sure, just give it a little pressure and it'll pop or it won't. It's sort of like popping your knuckles. I sometimes don't know if my knuckles can pop until I try. Other times they just do it on their own because I'm getting old. So let's fire this bad boy back up. And while it's booting, since we've got a battery, we'll let it start booting. And I'll go ahead and put the cables back into it. You do have to hold the power button down a little bit longer. It's not like a regular desktop where you tap and release. You have to hold it down for about 2 or 3 seconds, and you'll see the lights come on, and then you let it go. So again, we'll grab our power, HDMI, and my Ethernet adapter. And we're back up and running, as you can see here. And we'll cover, we'll grab the screen rather over onto the streamer. And yeah, we got our internet connection here. So with regards, is it single channel or dual channel? We can hit Control-Alt-Delete and go into our task manager. And then under, trying to remember, is it performance, memory? I thought it was in here. Speed, form factor, reserved. Am I missing anything? Thought it was here. I can't remember how to do this. I guess I can ask, I'll ask Copilot. How to see if RAM is single or dual channel in Windows. Oh, well, of course I can use CPU-Z. Duh. Okay. Oh man, it's Sunday. What do you want? Let me grab my USB flash drive because we need the Crystal Disk Mark tool anyway. So I'm going to just plug my flash drive in over here. I feel like a silly goat. A giddy goat? What is it Morris and the IT crowd said? Aren't I a giddy goat? All right, let's get back over to the desktop. We'll go over to the flash drive. No, it's not under download. D drive, here we go. CPU-Z, I know there's a newer version than this, but this will be fine. Let's just get that out of the way right now. I knew I saw it in something and I just couldn't remember. Thank goodness for searching and Copilot and such. I will put VLC on this, of course. Well, actually on this one it's going back, but under memory, frequency, where would it tell me? This is all the CPU information, so it obviously wouldn't be there. It would be under memory or SPD. So channel, it says 4 times 32-bit. So is that, okay, is channel 4 times 32 equal single or dual? This means the system supports 4 separate memory channels. To determine if it's single or dual, we need to understand what's single and dual. So 4 by 32 implies quad channel, not single or dual. It's a quad channel configuration offering higher bandwidth than single or dual. Oh, so that would mean, I'm just trying to think of the math on this. If they've got 4 4-gig memory chips, remember we counted 3 inside. I didn't see the 4th one, and 3 didn't make any sense. But maybe if I replay this video back and take a closer look, there is a 4th chip there. So yeah, 4 by 32. So out of curiosity, just for a comparison, just because I'm not seeing the answer, I thought it would say single or dual, because I'm pretty sure that's what CPU-Z does. Let me look on the streamer and see what our streamer says with CPU-Z, which I keep on the desktop for just such an occasion. Keep my feathers numbered for just such an occasion, as Foghorn Leghorn would say when his feathers blew off. We'll go to memory here. And so yeah, on the desktop here, just for the sake of comparison, I get a completely different, I get letters instead of numbers. I'll show you. You see where it says channel number on the top right, and then it says dual? And on this machine, it says channel number 4 by 32. Boy, I wish CPU-Z was a bit more consistent, and they're both the same version of CPU-Z that I'm using here. So yeah, it looks like it's quad channel RAM, if I'm understanding this correctly, that there would be 4 4-gig modules soldered onto the board, each on their own channel. And if that's true, and I'll be honest, I'm not quite 100% behind that. I'm not too confident that that's the correct answer, but that appears to be. Then it's better than dual channel in that case. If you're really into performance, but then being really into performance and only having 16 gigs of RAM, I mean, I guess that's wishful thinking, but okay, each their own. Let me get back in the chat. Appreciate the question. I think that's about the best I can answer for you. Taffer says it's double dual. That's correct. What we would call quad. David Graham says, don't forget to end Task Manager, it will run forever. We don't have 25H2, David. I'm not quite sure you're watching the same video as the rest of us. Thomas MacT says, $15 for data, $20 for the finished product. Not quite sure I get your reference, Thomas. I need that buffered with a little bit of preface. Oh, let me get back over here and run Crystal Disk Mark. So let's jump back over here. And PC testing, let's get Crystal Disk Mark moved over. I mean, I can run Cinebench on this too. Not really designed for Cinebench, but I'm sure it'll be fine. But if you're interested in performance with Cinebench, you might be looking at a $1,000 plus laptop, but whatever. You just want a reference point. So we'll copy HW info over. Close and close, and Crystal Disk Mark. My only concern is that we might be downloading an update in the background. Let me just check and see if it's doing anything. Last check 29 minutes ago. It doesn't appear it's doing anything, so I'm going to trust it. Because obviously if it's working on downloading and installing an update in the background, our overall benchmark will be inaccurate. So here we go. We're going to run this, and I'm primarily concerned about these two top numbers, the read and the write. But we're going to go through the whole left side first of all the reads. That is a pretty terrible read speed. Pretty terrible. So here's the other thing I need to know. If it is downloading an update right now, that's very reasonable. If it's not updating an update, or if it's not downloading an update, then this is not good. So then the other thing is Crystal Disk Info, to verify what generation of NVMe drive is the slot, or what generation of PCIe does the slot support and how many channels. And then we check the same thing for the drive itself, to make sure the drive and the slot are both operating optimally. So the way we do that is I'm going to go back to my USB flash drive. We're going to download, it's going to be under PC testing, Crystal Disk Info. I can't help but wonder that the blank out that just happened, if that's maybe a video driver or something that's installed. We also probably have the AMD, yeah. This may be updating the Adrenaline software. And all of these updates will affect our performance measure. This says it's up to date. Manage updates. Let's say if it agrees. Available. New drivers for chipset. Let's grab it all. There's no point in us testing this if it's not fully updated, and there's no point in testing it while it's updating. However, we can look at the Crystal Disk Info since it's not a benchmark. Give that just a second, it'll pop up here. And as you can see, we're downloading new chipset drivers. This can make a massive performance boost. Okay, this Western Digital Green is not a fast drive. Let's be clear. The Western Digital Green series is eco-friendly, meaning it's going to be low power, low performance, and low energy consumption. Well, low power. That means it's going to run cooler. Your battery life is going to last longer. It is generation 3 by 4 is the drive, and the slot that it's plugged into is generation 3 by 4. So if we're curious, what does this mean? We can highlight this drive, and we can go to Copilot and say, what are the read and write speeds of, and then Control V to paste that in there, and see if we're getting what it's supposed to do. So it says read speeds up to 2400 megabytes and write speeds up to 1900. This is very slow, and a higher end generation 3, like a Samsung 970, will do 3600 megabytes per second and about 3000 or 2900 on the writes. This is about 33% lower overall, but also probably uses 33% less power and generates 33% less heat, while still providing you the same storage capacity. So money solves all of this. If you're trying to find a budget laptop and you want to be fixated on benchmark numbers, I can tell you that I'm really surprised the numbers are that low, because watching how fast this machine boots, and when I click on things, how quickly the machine responds, I have no indication to believe that this drive is slow. But it also depends on how you are using your computer, what you use it for, and how intolerant and impatient or demanding you might be as a user. If you combine intolerant, impatient, and demanding with budget, trying to keep the price as low as possible, it's like wanting to order filet mignon or want your hamburger cooked medium rare at McDonald's. They're not going to do it. But you can go to a fancier, more expensive restaurant that will be happy to accommodate you. So, just be reasonable for what you're paying and what you're getting. Everybody is doing what they can in the market to offer customers options. And in order to get to certain price points, if you want that CPU, but you want it at this price point, then we're going to solder the RAM on, we're going to solder the Wi-Fi on. It's an older Wi-Fi, because people are fixated on that CPU. But if you're like, no, I'm not just fixated on the CPU, I'm fixated on the storage capacity, speed, Wi-Fi speed, ability to upgrade with another M.2 drive, and that CPU, and have it run cool, and have it have a good battery life. And you want that for $600? You're welcome to want it. They do sell it, but it's going to be more than $600. I'm just saying, have reasonable expectations. Now, if they were charging $1,800 and giving you this, then I'd understand your position. However, it's just another way to look at it, and this is another reason why Nemo offers so many different variations of laptops and configurations, CPUs, RAM, storage, and price points. And that's a beautiful thing. And even different colors. Maybe you want your laptop to be, a different, you don't want black. They offer this one in 3 different colors. So there you go. With that update done, if we go back to Crystal Dismark over here, go back over to desktop. I just rebooted. And now that I'm pretty confident we don't have any updates affecting our benchmark numbers, we were seeing exactly what this drive is advertised to do. And let's just verify that's what we're getting here. Like I said, this isn't designed to do the kind of workload that Cinebench is going to throw on there. It will do it. Don't get me wrong. But if you're looking for high benchmark numbers, you bought the wrong machine. And that's easily resolved. Nemo does make machines that will accommodate those needs, but at a price point that is also adjusted in accordance with those demands. Andy says he's surprised it's PCI Gen 3. I am a bit surprised at that as well, but I'm also not surprised at the price point given that CPU. If they had reduced that CPU to a previous generation, again, when you're in marketing, and I want you to understand, when you're in marketing, your job is to figure out what is the end user overall, not you, not me, not enthusiasts. The bulk of computer buyers, what are they buying? And it's not a simple answer as, well, they're just buying this or they're buying that. If you're the manufacturer and you make a laptop for $500, for $600, for $700, for $800, for $900, you have to figure out, how do I adjust the CPU and the RAM in such a way, in the Wi-Fi, storage, second NVMe drive, all of these other potentials at each particular price point. And then when you analyze your sales data, you'll probably find there'll be a bulk. One unit will sell better than the others, but the other units will also sell well enough, even though they may not be in first place. You're going to have a second place, a third place, and a fourth place. So they all have justification for their existence. The trouble in, let's say, separate manufacturing, separate documentation, all the things, separate packaging that accommodates different configs. The issue gets to be when you're building something so niche or niche. I struggle with this word, niche. When you're building something so specific that only a handful of people would ever demand it, you will lose money as a manufacturer. So while you might be more of an enthusiast if you're watching YouTube videos on this stuff, you don't represent the average buyer. So therefore, they're not necessarily making computers for you guys if you're expecting that sort of over the top. And on the other hand, they also might, but at a much higher price point and with a much smaller inventory, because they just don't move as many units based on price alone. People might want that. They might wish they could afford it. But when they actually go and hand their credit card or their cash over to make a purchase, more times than not, the cheaper models will outsell 10 to 1, at least 10 to 1, the most expensive models. But that doesn't necessarily mean the most expensive models don't have an audience. It's just the audience is very tiny by comparison. So if you're the manufacturer, where are you going to put your efforts in, right? To the masses, what's moving? That's what we care about. What's going to sell? And how do we get it to sell? Do we want to focus on how fast the RAM and storage are, and how much RAM capacity and storage capacity, or how fast the Wi-Fi is, or how expandable the unit is, or how long the battery's going to last, or how much it weighs, or what the screen resolution is, or what kind of screen, or if it's touchscreen? Also, this has a webcam, just like the other Nemo units. Do we include the webcam? All of this costs, none of it's free, okay? So every time they add something, they want to add what the general consumer wants. Since a lot of people are doing telecommuting work and well, a lot of people have gone back to the office. They've gotten used to now, talking to family members and such with the cameras on their phone. To have it on the laptop is a great option. It doesn't add a lot of cost, but whether or not it would be a good enough camera for you, you could always buy a webcam and throw it on USB. But if you include the cost of the webcam under the cost of the laptop, are you saving any money? So I've seen people do that, where they'll buy something it appears to be a bargain, but then by the time they throw all their add-ons onto it, it costs them way more. They risk breaking it. They might even void their warranty, instead of just buying it direct from the manufacturer the way they want it. Now, if I turn this unit around here, you can see our crystal disk mark results there on the screen. What I want to show you is right up here, there's a webcam, and it has a little slider with a shutter. So even if that webcam were to come on without your consent, personally, I've never seen it happen, but paranoia is very real on the internet today. And it is possible that even if the green light, or whatever the color light is that indicates this webcam is on, if the shutter's closed, it's just like taking pictures with the lens cover on. There's nothing. And it's just a little plastic shutter, and I just slide it open. And if I want to test this, what I can do is, let's turn this back around, and let's go back to this desktop. Let me get my glasses. Those are our final results, by the way, which do line up with exactly what Copilot told us that model of drive can do. And let's open up Microsoft Edge. Start without data. Confirm and continue. Notice it's still on daylight saving time here, so it's got the wrong time zone. I just realized that. Adjust date and time. Oh, well, that's why this is turned off. Fix that problem. Continue without my data. And I'll just type in test my webcam. Webcamtest.com. Sounds good. It's going to try and access our webcam, or we'll probably get a pop-up asking for permission. Click here to allow access. Allow. There's a blue light that comes on above the monitor. Several web cameras were detected. Okay. Test my, oh, I see. PC camera, what else? Oh, AMC privacy view. I don't know what that is. So just test my webcam. Starting, and here I am. Now I'm 10 feet tall. You can look right up my nose. Now I know the expression, keep your nose clean. I never knew what that meant. So everything's working like it's supposed to. And if I turn this laptop around, let's bring it back to camera 1. You're going to see a blue light right here. See the blue light? It indicates the camera's on. And if I close the shutter, You got nothing. I just put the lens cap on. So it's nice to have a privacy shutter. You know, Logitech and other places like eBay and Etsy, they can 3D print a little shutter that you stick on with tape if your laptop doesn't have one. Or you can just stick on a little something yourself, the piece of tape. It's not rocket science. But it's a really nice touch that they've added that here. So I can close this site, close that out. And as far as Cinebench, let's go back, save these settings. So this is Crystal Disk Mark. We'll save it as a JPEG and put it on the desktop. Oops. Desktop. Save. Good, there's our image. And then I'll grab, start hardware info. 64-bit. Sensors only. Start. Close. Scroll down. Looking for temperatures. Here we go, down here. Core temperatures. Okay, here's where our temps are sitting right now. Let's grab, or start rather, Cinebench. Give that a second to fire up. It's a big program. And we should get a license agreement here in a second. Accept, start. And then we'll move this over to the right. Keep an eye on it. These are our current temperatures. These are the minimum temperatures since we started this monitoring software. And these are the maximum temperatures. And we're going to let this test run. This is the multi-core test. It's going to run for 10 minutes to warm up, and then the benchmark will run after the warm up. And then it'll give us a score that we can compare to these scores here. So while that runs, it's not a whole lot to look at. I'm going to come back over here because not that I'm a whole lot to look at either, but at least I'm moving around. There is that. And Scott Messerschmidt said you can just use a little piece of cardboard and some tape to cover up the camera too. Yeah, for sure. But those little privacy shutters, they're like $1.50 or something. They're really inexpensive if you want it to look nicer. Well, I'm just saying, there's options. And it's nice when the shutter is built into the laptop for that very reason. It's every time you keep adding things to your computer's not so cheap as you thought it was anymore. If you're saying I'm going to buy a $600 computer and then throw $400 worth of upgrades on it, what I'm trying to tell you is you probably could have bought the computer already with those upgrades for less than it cost you to do it yourself. Frank Jimmy says we are the knights who say niche. Niche. And he says the Nemo N15A for a little bit more money is very improved hardware. Yeah, you're welcome to that opinion. For some people, it doesn't make a difference one way or the other. That's all I'm trying to tell you. For some people, they wouldn't know the difference. So if you know the difference and that has value to you, then adjust your expectations so that you understand what you're buying. That's the only point I'm trying to make. I'm not trying to say one is better than the other. That's for you to decide. And whatever you think is fine. And nobody has to agree with you. Okay? You're right and they're right. Dennis said, he's talking to Dome in 2000 in the chat. He said, when I first heard of that whole task manager problem, I asked my wife how often she looked at Taskman. And she said, what's that? And I said, that's just what I thought. There's no issue here. I mean, look, there could be an issue on the freeway right now. There could be an accident. The whole thing could be shut down. I'm not on the freeway. I'm not planning to get on the freeway anytime soon. It has no effect on me. I don't care. So those people on the freeway, let's just say there's an issue on the freeway that's causing a traffic backup, which on a Sunday afternoon in Phoenix, you think would be free-flowing and not overcrowded and jammed up, and you'd be wrong, because it quite often does happen. It takes a car accident that involves maybe somebody dying, and that whole thing is shut down for investigation, and you're just stuck with no way to get out of it. You just have to wait. I don't care. But if I'm one of those people stuck in traffic, I care. And it may be something I take my phone and start moaning about. And then other people go, oh, you don't want to drive Phoenix freeways because they're all stopped up. Well, that moment at that time, that person was right. But you're reading it days or weeks later, or you don't even live in Phoenix. What do you care regardless? So I see a lot of people reacting to things that never affect them. They're reacting on behalf of somebody else. You know, people are going to do what they're going to do. Looks like CPU core's hitting, I mean, the highest temp, 88, is that right? Still good here. This is fine. I do hear a little bit of fan. It's definitely on. It's not loud, but you definitely know it's there. Andy says, oh, I'm just trying to point out Nemo has some great offerings. That's what I've been saying this whole time. There's a variety of laptops from Nemo at all different price points, Intel and AMD, different Wi-Fi, different storage, different upgradability, DDR4, DDR5, all of that, 17-inch, 15-inch, longer battery life, shorter battery life, thicker, heavier, smaller, thinner. They've got so much product there, and I emphasize that because if the product I'm showing you today doesn't fit your particular, let's say it's not your cup of tea, don't dismiss the manufacturer, because they make lots of different tea, all I'm trying to say. And so, yeah, Andy, I guess, was just rephrasing what I've said there. So we agree. Sam Lazara joining us from Melbourne, Australia. G'day, Sam. Mark Leibowitz is mentioning his new clients just left with their repaired custom build. Turned out to be a failed video card. I replaced it with a spare part. My new KVM setup quitted itself nicely. Whatever happened with that, Mark? I know you had some like 13-foot USB cables. Generally speaking, USB 3, for those wondering, officially supports a cable length of 3 meters maximum without some kind of repeater or booster. So that's about 10 feet. And Amazon's selling 13-footers. And I do believe that that exceeds the specification. And while some USB devices may be okay with it, it won't consistently work at 13 feet. You're running a risk. But Amazon does have those free returns, so. But bear in mind, if you see a USB 3 like extension cable or just a cable in general that's more than 10 feet long, there is a risk it may not work for the device you're wanting to use it with. And so just know that out of the gate. If you have any problem, you immediately know what the solution is. And we're still working over here. We've got about 2.5 minutes to go. Everything's running good. Mark Leibowitz said he thinks the problem may be that those 13-footers were plugged into a USB 2 port as their source instead of a USB 3. Yeah, that could be as well. He said they work just fine with USB-C converters.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me, but I'm not a USB expert. I mean, if you got it figured out and it's working, that's great. Sam Lazar said, I've got a 30-meter HDMI cable. I've never tested it. A friend gave it to me. It has a booster on it. Yes, we talked about this in a past video when we talk about HDMI cables versus USB cables. Any kind of a data cable, even an Ethernet cable, has a limit to how far it can run without boosting. And I think somebody had mentioned they bought an HDMI cable, and I thought it was really expensive, and they were only running it a couple feet. I'm vaguely remembering this, the details. And I go, well, why did you spend that kind of money just to run a short cable? And they took a picture of the cable. It had a booster on it. I'm like, why would that cable at that length have a booster? They're just tricking customers into thinking that's a better cable when you could have bought a cheaper cable without the booster. At what point do you need a booster for an HDMI cable? Let's ask. But the good news is they do sell HDMI cables with boosters built right into the cable. But you will notice it's built into the price too. At what point do I need a booster for an HDMI cable? And I'm just going to Google this rather than Copilot or AI it. You need an HDMI booster or extender when you're running an HDMI cable beyond the recommended length for reliable signal transmission, which is typically over 50 feet or around 15 meters. You should also consider one if you experience signal degradation like pixelation, lag, or a complete loss of signal on long cable runs, or if you need to maintain high resolutions like 4K or 8K at higher refresh rates. Long distances on a standard HDMI cable can reliably transmit about 50 feet. High resolution, high refresh rate, on the other hand, like at 4K or 8K resolution, now your maximum cable length decreases and a booster is needed to maintain this quality over longer distances. There's also signal interference. When the cable runs past sources of high voltage or electromagnetic interference, it can disrupt the signal in the cable. And an extender or booster can help regenerate a clean signal. And then there's very long distances. In that case, an HDMI extender, which could be even fiber optic, except at the ends. And that way you can get much longer distances. And all of this, has a price tag. So pretty much whatever you want to do with your tech, you can do. It's whether or not you can afford it. All right, looks like we've got some results here. And we're looking at 11,074 points. That puts us right here on the orange with regards to other comparisons. And these are older results, by the way. Let's do our single core test. Start that up. Again, it'll preheat, if you will, for 10 minutes. And this is a CPU test. I think people get thrown because they see the graphics, but these graphics are being generated simply by a CPU, not by the GPU. So this is a very intense CPU workout that we're looking at. This has nothing to do with our graphics card. Don't let the idea that it's drawing a picture throw you that this is a graphics test. CPU is generating that video, or it's generating the calculations required to create the video, or the image in this case, not so much a video, that because of the detail in the image requires a lot of CPU workload that is not representative of typical consumer use. Very few of these benchmarks are in any way synthesizing the real world. If I ever find one in my life before I die, I'll let you know. When they can start feeling, we'll see some progress. We'll also see a very dangerous world when the computer tells you you hurt its feelings. No disassemble. Johnny 5 is alive. Just saying. Careful what you wish for. All right, we're just about ready to wrap up today's video. Again, a thanks to and a shout out to our friends at Nemo for allowing us to review this the way we review, not the typical reviewers who play games and do all the silly stuff. If you're interested in the gaming, just research that, what is it, a 680M and you'll get the gist of what kind of games it plays at what resolutions. It'll be the same with that particular chip, regardless of who manufactures it. It'll be within technical minutia from one manufacturer to another of similar performance. So we don't have to individually test each one. It's redundant. Also, I'm not a gaming channel. And that doesn't mean I'm against gaming. It just means I don't make any money from gaming. And if you want to do that on the side and that's important to you, I don't look down upon it. I don't participate in that because I wouldn't be able to keep this channel running. That being said, if you're interested in other aspects of these laptops that are more niche, if you are interested in more vertical or unique use case scenarios for the way that you use it, I have a friend who's got a telescope and it's all digital and he points it out of the sky and it stitches all these images together. He comes up with these beautiful images and it is incredibly intensive, I think, on the graphics card. And it can take hours for these images to stitch together. And speaking of my friend, that's Ron, who sometimes joins us in the chat, Ron Hillier. He sent me one the other day, and he's always happy to have me share them with you. So Ron uses his telescope in his backyard, and he's not a rich guy. It's not like he's got a really high-end telescope, but this is where the technology has come. And in order for him to get pictures like this, that's a real picture, or rather a series of pictures, that then get processed digitally in the computer with this final output. And that looks like a poster. It looks like it comes from NASA. And you can capture galaxies as he's done here. This is, again, his photo. But these take hours. These run overnight to process. So he's always looking for more power to get this done faster. Trying to see if he's got another one here. Yeah. These are his images from a telescope in his backyard. Now, what he wants in a computer is going to be different than what most of us want. And most of us aren't doing that with our computers. And if you are, you should buy a computer that is that's going to be able to handle that kind of demand, or otherwise be prepared to wait a few hours, and that's just learn to live with it. If that's what you can afford and it's going to have to run overnight, then so be it. You just won't produce as many pictures, let's say. During those nighttime hours when you get a clear shot of the sky, you only have so much time and then it's the next day. So productivity and price go hand in hand. If it's a hobby and the productivity doesn't matter as much, there might be a wish list. I wish I could do a couple of images a night, but I can only do one, let's just say. And spending more money gets you a computer that can process 4 or 8 images a night. You're getting twice to 4 times more done. You're probably going to spend twice to 4 times more money to do it. All right, 5 minutes into this test. Our temps are still looking good here. Oops. Final questions? Andy says, great review, as always. Thank you, Carey and Mara. Thank you, Andy. Thanks for hanging out with us. And thank you all in green for being members and supporting us here. Thanks to Nemo for giving us an opportunity to evaluate and introduce you to these laptops and the variety thereof. Off camera, I'll put the screws back in it, and it'll likely get packaged back up and go back to Nemo. The good news is Nemo sent us 2 different laptops, so we're starting with this smaller one. We've got the 17-inch, a 17-inch model that we haven't looked at before. And we'll try and get to that, I'm gonna guess Friday. Tomorrow we do our members only video as always at 1 o'clock Arizona time. As a reminder, that's now an hour earlier for most of you in the US. Actually, for most of you watching us anywhere. Most people have rolled their clocks back an hour at some point by now. So 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern, if that helps you. But it's still 1 o'clock. It's still 1 o'clock for us in Phoenix. You're the ones who rolled your clocks back. We didn't. And that's for members only. And we hope to see the members there tomorrow. We'll tell you a little bit about what's going on and a little behind the scenes information and hangout. Mark Leibowitz mentions, I don't need high res on my KVM setup. I just need keyboard, mouse, and picture. So the 12 and 13-foot cables work fine. Yeah, well, again, let's not confuse what we're talking about. With you and the KVM, I was more concerned about USB, because with HDMI, you're probably fine up to 50 feet. But someone else mentioned HDMI. But we're talking about HDMI cables, USB cables, and then of course Ethernet cables also have a length limit, but it's like 100 meters, so less likely going to run into a problem there for most people unless you're in a big company. Ledman70 said those pictures are amazing. I know, I can't believe he's taking those in his backyard with his own camera. How is that even possible? Never in my wildest dreams as a kid in the 1970s with my kid telescope did I ever think that it would be affordable for somebody to be able to do that from their own home, let alone, you know, have to go to an observatory of some kind. And speaking of that, we have a planetarium here in Phoenix at the Phoenix Science Center, and their dome has been under construction as they introduced brand new projection technology. I think it's called Cosmos or something like this, or with a Q. And I think it's the only observatory with this. It's called the Dorrance Dome, like Torrance, but it's Dorrance with a D, like David. And if you Google it, you'll learn about it. It just recently opened. It's been under construction like 2 years. I think it's the only one in the United States, if I'm not mistaken. So I think I got to make a trip to the planetarium. And I mean, I liked it before. Now it's supposed to be mind-blowing, so I'll have to see for myself. Dennis wants to know if we have any battery life info on this laptop. You know, when we test how long it takes to charge and we test how long it takes to use, it really depends on what you're using the laptop for. If you're sitting on a plane passively watching a movie that you downloaded, let's say, versus streaming a movie, versus actually using the computer for calculations, your battery life's all over the map when it comes to anything like a cell phone. Does your battery in your cell phone last a day? Does it last 3 days? It depends on what you're using your phone for and how often you're using it. And as a result, it's very difficult to nail down exactly what you can expect other than painting a best case scenario, right? So if we look over at Nemo's website, I'll bet you they paint a best case scenario here. Let's take another look at Nemo's website and see if it's mentioned. Let me grab my window capture. It's not going to work because I still have it on CPU-Z. Hold on. Let me switch that back over to Chrome. That's the window I want to capture. Thank you, OBS. And what does it say about battery life? Well, we do see an error here. It says it's PCIe 4, and it's not PCIe 4. We'll let Nemo know about this typographic, this typo. It does say a 15-minute charge will provide up to 2 hours of use, but overall, we scroll down, we get into some details with product information. The weight is 3.8 pounds, the dimensions, the memory speed. Screen is 1920 by 1080. It does say the RAM is soldered here, and that it's not upgradable here, and so that information was here. Maximum battery runtime would be 12.75 hours. There you go. It is suggesting a peak performance time of 9 hours. I mean, I don't know why they're not specifying hours. They're just giving us a number without explanation. And we'll point this out to them as well. I think that's an omission where we're assuming the number. Anytime a number is used with computers, we're usually referring to a certain speed or time. So here they're specifying speed. Is this speed or time? Because they're talking performance and we're talking time. Which one is it? Somebody might interpret this on a scale of 1 to 10. Is that does not, you know what I mean? So it helps if we give a little more of a descriptor here, and we'll offer them that suggestion. Again, they keep referring to this as PCIe Gen 4. This is completely wrong. And even when they show other PCI Gen 3, it's still faster than what they've included in this machine. So this information is an oversight. We've talked to the people and know them well enough at Nemo that we know they're not doing this on purpose. And this is more likely going to happen when you make so many damn products. They all start getting mixed up, you know what I mean? And don't think the negative, don't think the worst simply because in this case it's looking like they're promoting more than you're getting. It's a mistake. And once they're made aware of it, I have no doubt in my mind they will prioritize correcting that right away. There's a close-up of the ports. And look, I don't mind pointing this stuff out. Nobody's perfect. When we release our optimizer, I expect people to have some problems we didn't know, but we're going to take those problems as a priority to resolve and issue an update, but we have to be made aware of it first, okay? Now, if we're made aware of it and we choose to do nothing, then you can get upset. But working with Nemo, we haven't seen them do anything other than, you know, be appreciative of our feedback. So they just don't know that misinformation is in there. All right, I think that's going to wrap it up for us today. Yeah, it is the N15A, and the documentation that I'm looking right at in front of me says it's for the N15A. So we'll let them know. And if there's any mistake that was made, like maybe they sent us an old unit, or maybe they got a batch that were made differently that the manufacturer did not follow the specs. We've seen manufacturers do this before, that they contract out to. Maybe they didn't know. But you know, that's what quality control is supposed to be there for. So I'm glad you asked that question, because it just led to some more identifying what I can only assume are typographical oversights. So we will definitely reach out and let them know, and certainly appreciate your attention to detail on that. That's what really we're here to do. Dennis says it'll probably run 12 plus hours with power saving on, screen off, just idling. The screen is probably your biggest power consumer in general, unless you're doing some real heavy CPU like gaming, something like that. Andy Kane said it is 8 p.m. in Ireland and the UK. It's 8 p.m. right now? No. You're saying my start time at 1 p.m. Phoenix. That means it's 1 o'clock here and 8 o'clock there. It's a 7-hour time difference between us. That sounds right. Thank you for that, Andy. Bikeman says, great review and no questions I can think of at the moment. Looks much easier to open than my current gaming laptop, which is an HP Omen. Oof. What I say to you, why would you use those words to me? Very rude. How dare you? Thomas MacT says, great stream as always, Carey and Marlena. Yes, thank you to Marlena for all the work she does on our thumbnails, video descriptions, video notes. Thanks to VIP URCD keys for extending the discounted offer to all of our viewers. Remember, that is not a commission-based link. I don't make any money if you buy it or you don't. I'm just looking out for you. It is universally the most requested thing we get asked with regards to software. We're a Windows-based channel, so Windows and Office are almost ubiquitous. When it comes to other pieces of software, we don't really focus on them because there's just not a majority of viewers big enough for us to go out and make these deals. But you know, maybe there's something I'm not thinking of that, you know, most people need. If so, let me know what you think it is most people need. I often hear from people who uniquely need something, and they say, well, you know, if you did this, it would help a lot of people. No, I disagree, because you're the only one asking. On the other hand, you know, if there's something we can put together for you guys, we're more than happy to make the attempt, as long as it's worth all the effort, that we're going to get enough people interested. The last thing I want to do is offer you guys a bunch of discounts, and now you think you're watching QVC or some shopping channel, which is not my intent here. This is primarily an educational channel. And with that, I think it is going to wrap it up. Andy does specify that the CPU itself, the Ryzen CPU this laptop has, it does support Gen 4. Which, yes, yeah, I would think it would. But for some reason, this is running in Gen 3. And it has a Gen 3 NVMe drive. Like when we, even if there was a BIOS setting, let's just say that there was a BIOS setting that you could amp that up or down, which wouldn't make any sense. But for the sake of argument, let's pretend there was. They still put a Gen 3 drive in it anyway. That Western Digital Green is not a performance drive. It's an eco drive. It's there to be friendly to the environment. It's there to be friendly to your pocketbook. It's not. It's a Prius versus a drag racing car. The Prius is nowhere near as fast, but it gets a lot better gas mileage. It's also a lot cheaper. But that being said, our final results, just if you're curious, looks like we're seeing 1523 on the single core, and there's all of our final temps. So I'll grab a screenshot of that whole thing and save it to the desktop as well. We never overheated, the fan never got too loud. It is much quieter now, so you can absolutely hear the fan when it cranks up, and that's what I would hope. Because obviously, if I'm not hearing a fan, I can't help but wonder if the machine's not running to its full potential. Jim Kinney says, what about RoboForm? We still offer that discount if you're a first-time RoboForm user. The problem we're having is that most of the audience, being as loyal as many of you are, you've already been buyers. So now what you're looking for are discounts on renewals. And the folks at RoboForm have offered or shown no interest in offering any discounts on renewals. I invited them in a recent conversation to reconsider that position. And they said they would, and the next time we talk, we'll talk about it. We don't have any regularly scheduled talks, but we're always open here to whatever RoboForm wants to do. We don't dictate what they're gonna do. We just say, if you wanna see a boost in renewals, you need to discount the renewals. And I think RoboForm, and I can't speak for them, and I'm not trying to, but I think the logic is, look, we sold this to you guys really cheap. In order for us to make any money, we can't keep discounting renewals. The logic was probably, let's sell it to you cheap, and let's get you on the renewals, and that's where we're gonna make our money. So if I was RoboForm, I get this logic. Let's sell you the razor blade handle, and then we'll give you the handle, and we'll charge you for the blades. And it's not that they're overcharging. I mean, RoboForm is a very, very much affordable product at its regular price. However, nobody would be upset if they paid less. But then, RoboForm might say, we just can't give away the product like that and then turn around and give away the renewals. That's just not gonna keep us in business. I'm only imagining this conversation. It's never happened. But I'm trying to guess why they're doing what they're doing. I've encouraged them to reconsider it because, quite frankly, just offering a discount to you guys isn't going to be a drop in the bucket for the total number of customers they have worldwide. And worst case scenario is you get a bunch of people renewing that are now going to stay with you for all those years, however many years they sell. Maybe they limit it to 1 year. Maybe they let you buy 5 years. Maybe something happens to you and you're not with us anymore, and you still have 4 years of prepaid RoboForm. That's revenue they would have never collected. So I painted all of this to them. I painted all these scenarios. Sometimes restaurants will sell a gift card, and they'll say you can get a $100 gift card for $80. And if you buy it today, you can't use it today. But if you come back, you have whatever the time limit. Usually it's a year or longer to use this gift card. And that restaurant is going to lose $20. They're going to sell you $100 worth of food, and they're going to lose $20 off the normal price. But you may not go back to that restaurant unless you have the gift card. So now, is it worth taking a bit less to get the customer some motivation to come back? Even if the customer likes the food, even if the restaurant's closely located, it's convenient, it's still regular price, so it may not be on the foremost of your mind. But if you've got this gift card, you feel like, I need to use a gift card, let's go eat at that restaurant. And before you know it, you could be making that a habit. And now when your gift card runs out, you still go back and pay the full price anyway, because now you've gotten used to it. You know, it's become a new favorite, let's just say. Not always. So I would, you know, and I've discussed this with the folks at RoboForm for consideration, and it'll be up to them to decide what they want to do. But we still partner with them. If you are brand new to RoboForm, you can still get 30% off. And that's for new customers only. That way they can make their profit in the future when you renew, and back around the circle goes. So anyway, that's the logic as I imagine it to be. And I may be completely wrong, but unless I'm told otherwise, that's all I got. All right, and Ben Laird in Scotland says, RoboForm at its regular retail price is well worth the price. I agree. I mean, you know, compared to what? You know what I mean? It's like there are equivalently priced products that are nowhere near as good as RoboForm. And RoboForm, as far as I know, they've never had a breach. They've never had an update that caused a Windows crash ever in the history of the company. And they're like the OG of password managers. I don't even know how I would get on my life with all the technical stuff I'm into and all the different logins and passwords. RoboForm exists on my laptop, it exists on my desktop, it exists on my phone. And I love that RoboForm isn't nickel and diming for every install. When I buy a RoboForm license, I can put it on as many devices as I want. I'm only paying for my user, me. If I'm going to have other users, I have to pay for them. But I'm not paying for the software installation per device. I have a piece of software I use for editing, PowerLink CyberDirector. It's like $100 a year on subscription. It gets updated like twice a month. The subscription's worth it. I can run PowerDirector over here on this computer. I can run PowerDirector on my laptop. I can run PowerDirector on the system at Studio A, but not at the same time. What happens is it says you have a one-user license that's already been activated at the computer on Studio A, and now you're on a different computer. Do you want to remove the license from Studio A and move it to the computer you're on now? I click yes, and I get back to work. So RoboForm doesn't do that. RoboForm says you download it, install it, put it on as many devices as you want. They don't care. Mac, Windows, probably Linux, I guess. I don't know. Phones, Android, iOS. Throw it on all your stuff. And you're just paying the license per user. And I think that's a brilliant marketing technique. I like it a lot. And if you're borrowing a computer, maybe you're at a cyber cafe, and you don't want to load RoboForm, you just go to roboform.com and put your login credentials, and you can use it virtually through the website. And that way, when you leave that computer, it leaves no trace behind. So that's another option as well. No additional charge for that. It's all included. Jim Kenny says, I was wondering about an interview with RoboForm. We've been in discussion with RoboForm. They've been invited, and they said they would get back to us. They appreciate the invitation. They do intend to take us up on it. They just don't know when yet. And I said, well, when you get it figured out, the door's always open. Let me know, and we'll get you scheduled in. They could have forgotten about me. I mean, I could reach out. It's been about 6 weeks. Just say, hey, you ready for that interview yet? Have you thought about maybe running a special for a limited time on a discount on those renewals? Our viewers would love it. It brings some income in. I don't know if they need it, but who never needs income, right? What, more money? Nah, we're full. We don't need any more. I am advocating on your behalf, but I also am respecting their position and their answer. So no means no, doesn't mean they're not invited. They can come on, they can talk about it. And of course it'll be live, so you guys can ask them. You can pressure them. I'm not gonna pressure them. That's going to wrap it up for today. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you all again. Well, we'll see the members tomorrow, 1 o'clock Phoenix time, 12 p.m. Pacific time, which is 3 p.m. Eastern. Until then, bye for now.